football coach of the Clemson Tigers, Tommy Bowden.
Next, head football coach at the University of South Carolina, Coach Lou Holtz.
But there the similarities end. The Gamecocks have suffered through a winless season, but are waiting for their biggest rival. The Tigers are 5-5, but 2 of those losses are to #1 Florida State and #2 Virginia Tech. But forget all that. It's not important. This afternoon, it's a new one-game season, the one that really counts in this Palmetto State rivalry. For the 97th time, it's Clemson and South Carolina coming up next. A capacity crowd at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. One of the great, most colorful rivalries in college football. The Clemson Tigers at 5-5 against Lou Holt's winless South Carolina Gamecocks. And hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Southeastern Conference Game of the Week. I'm David Steele, along with Charles Davis. We're glad to have you with us. It is Rivalry Saturday in college football. There's Florida, Florida State. There's Ohio State, Michigan. But in this state of about 3 million residents, there's only one game. It's right here. It's Clemson, South Carolina. They love these football teams here.
Yes, they do, and they have plenty of reason to love them because these teams work awfully hard, even though the records aren't always indicative of what they're trying to get done.
And at stake today, more than just the rivalry, as Clemson has something very important to play for, and obviously South Carolina does not want to go winless.
Clemson has a bowl game to play for. If they win today, they become bowl eligible, and they thought they had taken care of business a few weeks ago, but didn't get it done, so they need it today in the rivalry game. South Carolina, pride is at stake. They do not want to go winless this year. They need a win today to finish the season with 1 win.
Clemson has been explosive at times on offense this year. They scored 42 last week in a loss against Georgia Tech. They got 58 a couple of weeks ago against Duke. This guy right here, Woodrow Dantzler, can really make their offense click.
He's their trigger man and didn't start the season at quarterback. He was the backup, but when he moved into the lineup, it's going to be awfully hard to get him out now. He's on pace to set a single-season record for total offense, and he really knows how to get it done with his feet and with his arms.
South Carolina is going to have to try and contain Dantzler today. That's the key for them. And if they're going to be in the game, their defense has to come up big again this week. They rank 14th in the nation defensively. They're very good on the defensive side of the ball, Charles.
Very, very good. And Coach Charlie Strong is going to use his talented linebacker trio of Abraham, Harney, and Atkins. It sounds like a law firm, and they're going to need to lock down the quarterback this week. They're going to have to lock down Dantzler. And what Coach Strong is going to do is have one of them spying on him at all times, trying to keep him in the pocket.
All right, it's Clemson at 5-5, South Carolina 0-10, and no SEC team has ever gone 0-11 on the field in a season. We'll be back from Columbia after this. Just moments ago, the South Carolina Gamecocks making their well-known 2001 entrance to Williams-Brice Stadium, and a sellout crowd on hand to watch the Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers. A lot of interesting sidebar notes, some stories to follow along with this football game. One of them involves an assistant coach for the Clemson Tigers. Let's go to our sideline reporter Warren Pepper for a report. Warren.
Yeah, Dave, you know, is this thing needed any more intrigue? A year ago, Brad Scott was completing his 5th year as head coach here at South Carolina. A few days later, he was fired. Not too many weeks after that, he was hired as one of Tommy Bowden's new assistants. He didn't want to do any interviews leading up to the game, wanted to deflect all that away from him and to the players he'll be coaching. Most of the players on one side of the field today. He actually recruited most of the others on the other. Dave, back to you.
All right, thanks, Warren. It's going to be interesting to see, and already we've seen Brad Scott mingling with folks from both sides of the football, and brings about a lot of emotion, both from Clemson people and South Carolina people. Lou Holtz, the veteran coach, won a national championship with Notre Dame, lured back into the coaching profession here at the University of South Carolina, trying to revitalize this Gamecock program, which has so much potential, but has had so many problems this year with various injuries, and of course the death of Coach Holtz's mother this past week. Certainly a distraction for the football team, but Lou Holtz continues to focus on his job. Weather conditions ideal today in Columbia, South Carolina. Low 70s. We have just about a 20% chance of rain, and you couldn't ask for much better at this point in the month of November in this part of the world. Carolina won the toss. They deferred the second half option. And head coach Tommy Bowden's football team will receive the football to start the game. His first year with the Clemson Tigers, coming from Tulane, where the Green Wave went 11-0 last season. But a great opportunity for Tommy Bowden to do something special here in upstate South Carolina with the Clemson Tigers. We mentioned this is the 97th renewal of this rivalry. They've played 92 consecutive years, the fourth longest running uninterrupted series, third longest in college football in 1A. And so they've been getting it on since 1896 between Clemson and South Carolina. South Carolina kicking off. Marcus Macbeth will do the honors on the kick for the Gamecocks, looking for their first win of the season. They have the longest losing streak in college football, having dropped 20 in a row. Standing deep for the Clemson Tigers is Joe Don Reams, and it is Reams out of Seneca, South Carolina, with the ball from the 9-yard line. Reams finds a seam. Down he goes at the 43-yard line. A nice return for Joe Don Reams. Kevin House made the tackle for South Carolina. Regents Bank starting lineup for the Clemson Tigers. The backs and receivers, Lawyer and Gardner, very good. Gardner, the #1 receiver in their offense. Terry Weatherspoon is an NFL prospect at the fullback position. Along the offensive line, Young and McDermott. Akeel Smith has been the most consistent player on that offensive line for the Clemson Tigers. Woodrow Dantzler, the quarterback, the sophomore from Orangeburg, South Carolina. He'll keep it. This is what he does so well, Charles Davis, run the football.
It started early with that, David. It was just a simple running play, too, out of the shotgun formation. Ordinarily, that'd be a toss sweep out of I formation. But with Dantzler, they went with no backs, snapped it to him, the ball was snapped to him, and he carried it off tackle.
It's like having another running back in the backfield when you have to defend Clemson with Dantzler. Brandon Streeter, who has been their sometime starter, suffered a hip injury last week. Zachary carries the ball. Travis Zachary, the sophomore from Marietta, Georgia, brought down near midfield. Will bring up third down and a couple for Clemson. Gamecocks defensively along the front line. Got a great pickup from their nose tackle, Cleveland Pinckney, a junior college transfer. It's a big day for him to try and contain Dantzler. Linebackers, we mentioned them in the pregame, very good, and so is their secondary. As Clemson appears to have picked up a first down at about the Carolina 45-yard line. The pass is incomplete. They rule it incomplete. Zachary, the intended receiver in South Carolina, is going to get the ball on a fourth down punting situation for the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, you're right, David. Little swing pass to Zachary out of the backfield. He was juggling it as he was going to the sideline. One official called it a catch and a fumble. The other official had a better view, called it an incomplete pass, and that's what stood.
Clemson has to punt the ball away, and the Gamecocks fair catch it. Ryan Brewer up around the 24-yard line. Well, that's where South Carolina will open up. Their defense has been so good all year long, but has been put under a lot of pressure from this offense and has not been able to move the football consistently. The Regents Bank Gamecock offensive front. You see the tailback Brewer. He is a freshman. They have 3 true freshmen that they'll rotate in the tailback position here today against the Clemson Tigers. The offensive line very, very young. 2 freshmen rather, and 3 sophomores, and has been in a state of flux all season long. And a quarterback, Phil Petty, who's had his share of injury difficulties this season as well. And Petty's pass intended for Jamel Kelly is incomplete. He's trying to get a little short passing game going to get some kind of confidence in their offense.
As aggressive as Clemson is on defense, it's going to be a difficult pass to complete because they're playing with press coverage up hard with the hard corners. You need separation to throw that quick pass out to the flanker so he has a chance to catch it and then make a move and run.
Bill Petty on second down. Will give off to the tailback, and he is swallowed up as Brewer near the line of scrimmage. Devontae McKenzie, the defensive end, number 35, a senior from Lake City, South Carolina, made the tackle, and very little running room for Brewer.
Very little indeed. First play they went with a pass out to the wide receiver. This time they just come right back in isolation play with the tailback carrying. No hole at all. Devontae McKenzie real strong up front and to make the initial hit. And South Carolina has to solve some people up front in order to have a chance to run the football together.
Out of the shotgun on third down, and they pitch it forward to the fullback, Neesmith. He needs the 33-yard line. He'll be nowhere near that, as Carswell, who has made a lot of tackles from his free safety position this year, number 9, is up to make the play and force South Carolina into a punting situation.
A well-designed play by South Carolina. Looks like it's going to be a little sweep, and then they throw it inside and the shovel pass to Neesmith, and he gets inside. But Robert Carswell has had a fantastic year at the safety position for Clemson. He's also back, I believe, it's either him or Zachary back to receive the punt. But Carswell's had a great year as a safety because he's been so aggressive. A lot of times you say you don't want your safety making so many tackles. The Clemson scheme is designed that way. He's very aggressive and very active.
Clemson has 10 up on the line of scrimmage. They're coming against Levin. Gets it away, and Travis Zachary waits for the ball. Oh, he didn't have room to catch it. That's going to be a penalty on the Clemson Tigers, or rather South Carolina, who did not give Zachary ample room to field the punt. Brian Elam came right up in Zachary's face.
The 2-yard rule, there's a 2-yard circumference around the punt returner that you have to give him in order to catch the football before you're allowed to make the tackle, and they violated that zone, obviously.
In a big way. Let's take another look.
You see Zachary going over, doing a good job as punt returner, concentrating on the football, never had a chance to catch it. Brian Elam getting down inside. Yeah, he was there aggressively trying to make a play, and this isn't unusual, especially when we get into big rivalry games, David. Teams are really jacked up when they come out to play, and Brian Elam trying to make a big play for his team early. Instead, it's a penalty. Clemson will have the football.
And Elam, a freshman, maybe a little extra juiced up, playing high school ball at this time, right?
Yeah,
last year.
Most of the time, your whole season, you don't see this many people. Maybe in 4 years, you don't see this many people as you see in one day.
With non-contact, catch interference on the kicking team. The run earned more yardage than the penalty. The penalty is declined, first down.
So there you have it. It's going to be Clemson's football from their own 38-yard line. Both teams have had one opportunity with the football, and there is no score in the first quarter. Williams-Brice Stadium, no score. Clemson with the ball for the second time this afternoon, and South Carolina comes with a nickel defensive package. Dantzler throwing on first down. And it is caught by Gardner at the Carolina 23-yard line.
Tommy Bowden, he and Rich Rodriguez, his offensive coordinator, they come out with the no huddle and they sprint right, move off flow back to that side of the field, and they throw back against it, one-on-one coverage. This time Gardner coming down with the ball over Andre Goodman, who was on the field in the nickel package, something Coach Holtz did not want to see. The deep ball completed.
South Carolina with its no huddle offense, operating quickly, moving the ball to the 16 as Mal Lawyer makes his first catch, the senior, from Monk's corner at about the 16-yard line. And South Carolina is going to have to be ready, Charles, because Clemson is up ready to snap the football.
They run it a couple of different tempos out of their no huddle. Right now they're going at their really fast tempo. They want the ball snapped with about 15 seconds to go on the 25-second play clock.
Nice pursuit by the Carolina defense as they run Dantzler out of bounds at around the 13 or 14. Sheldon Brown made the play, but that's not what South Carolina wants to happen. They don't want to see Dantzler out there on the corner.
No, if he
able to make a big play.
Exactly. If he gets out to the corner, that gives him the potential to break down South Carolina's defense. They want to keep him bottled up and contained in the pocket. They'd rather see him throw it than run it, although he has completed a long one thus far today.
A flag is dropped as Dantzler tries to sneak ahead for the first down. He'll have the first down, but we'll check the penalty first. What a challenge for your defense to try and be ready.
Very difficult.
Your players in place there. The offense obviously knows what they want to do. John Cherry. This is an Atlantic Coast Conference officiating crew. And the Tigers with the football. First down. Just inside the 10. Witherspoon, the fullback. Zachary, the tailback, out of the I formation. It looked like the center may have snapped the ball prematurely. Nobody else seemed to be aware that the ball is going to be snapped.
But South Carolina was in the neutral zone. And so what happened on that, you see Anthony Overstreet, number 99, in the neutral zone. And this is what teams do a lot. They call it the freeze play. When someone's in the neutral zone, you just snap the ball, quarterback takes a knee, get a cheap 5 yards. And Clemson was able to do that.
And the center, Kyle Young, give him credit for an alert play. Dantzler ready to take the snap. So the Tigers now threatening first and goal at the 4.5-yard line of South Carolina.
And you see them come out in an I formation set, have their big fullback Witherspoon in now, but to be a lead blocker if they choose to run the football.
Plenty of time on the play clock. Zachary, no place to run with the ball as Kalimba Edwards was out there by himself. Charles Davis, but he made the play.
He made the play, and it appeared to me from here, David, that all the people from Clemson didn't get the check that Woodrow Dantzler was making. It appeared that everyone was going one way, and the tailback went the other. And they were very lucky that there was no fumble because Dantzler was turning to toss the ball for Zachary going to the right. He ended up going to the left. He had no blocking on that play.
Back near the 10. Dantzler going to try and run it himself. And again, the Gamecocks swarm him. The first man there was John Abraham, the all-star caliber player, the senior outside linebacker from Timminsville, South Carolina. And then he got plenty of help.
He had plenty of help because you saw coming up from the secondary, number 3, Ray Green, also helping him out. See Abraham, he springs it out. This is the initial contact. See Green, number 20, Willie Offord. And now we've got a 4th down situation for Clemson. 3rd down situation for Clemson. And this gives them a chance now to spread the field again. That last play was, again, a designed running play for your quarterback.
The officials stop the clock.
Official foul
on South Carolina.
Again, a rivalry game. They're trying to help their defense out. They're down inside the 10-yard line. The kid's just trying to help out. A little over-exuberant there. Nothing big on that one. Just get everyone back in the zone they're supposed to be in.
Lou Holtz's defense has been called upon time and time again this year to keep that football team in a game. And now, early in the first quarter, the Gamecocks trying to keep Clemson out of the end zone. It'll be 3rd down and goal from the 9-yard line when we come back. No score in the game, but Clemson is threatening. We'll be back after a word from your local station.
All the world knows what's so easy to see.
9-yard line on 3rd down and goal. Trying to get on the scoreboard early in the first quarter.
Watch him sprinting towards the top of the screen, David. This gives him a chance to get to the corner. Dantzler out of the shotgun. He had a chance to flood the wide field.
Dantzler's looking to run to the short side, and there's not enough room with all those Gamecocks swarming. Kevin House, the quarterback, made the tackle, and Clemson is going to have to settle for 3 points.
Good job by South Carolina's defense staying at home when the setup appeared to be going to the wide side of the field. That's why I'm not an offensive coordinator. That's why I'm not coaching, because I called it the wrong way. But the South Carolina defense hung tough inside, and then Dantzler, who they love to outrun the football, as we've seen so many times. The South Carolina's defense swarmed, forcing a field goal attempt by Clemson.
Tony Lazzara, 6 of 9 on the season. A chip shot, but it's no good. 23-yard field goal attempt by Lazzara is no good. So there's still no score in the football game. Let's go to the sideline of Warren Pepper.
Yeah, Dave, you'll notice on the Clemson helmets today a number 5, and that is symbolic of Javis Austin's number, who earlier this week, I'm talking Wednesday of this week, suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound there off campus at his apartment. He's a junior running back. Surgery required him the next day. The loss of his right eye. They're still not so sure about his vision in his left. Last year, he scored 2 touchdowns in this rivalry, but Junior Javis Austin being remembered by his teammates today.
And Warren, the Tigers have dedicated this game to Austin prior to the opening kick. Watson, the new tailback, another true freshman, number 22, out of Williamston, South Carolina. Terry Bryant was the first man there. Let's show you Clemson defensively. Zolli has been outstanding as a defensive tackle. Holloman also very solid at the other tackle position. Bryant, McKenzie, the ends. The linebackers, Feaster, Carson, and Adams, who's just been a monster. They call him the termite. Leads the ACC in tackles, and their secondary has been outstanding all season long. Petty trying to throw deep. And he'll have to keep it. Nobody open. Petty down at the 23-yard line. Strong safety, DeMarco Fox, number 12. A senior from Philadelphia, Mississippi, made the tackle.
You talked about the Clemson secondary, number 12, DeMarco Fox, who just made that tackle, has been an integral part of that secondary. He and Charles Hafley, who split time at the strong safety position. One of them plays on running situations, one of them plays on passes. Fox on the running situations, and that's a reason why he's an excellent tackler. And a good job by him in open field against Petty.
The tailback, Watson, really a very talented runner. Has a chance to be a very good one. Third down conversion. Not been real good for South Carolina, but they're going to pick this one up as Neesmith, the fullback, barrels across the 40 and is knocked out of bounds by Polite at the 42-yard line.
And you know something, David? It's absolutely amazing what you can do when you have an offensive line that can block. Antoine Neesmith sneaks out of the backfield after attempting a block first, gets out there. Dexter Polite, who's played very well for Clemson in the secondary, has to come up and make the tackle. But a nice job by Skip Holtz, the offensive coordinator. He can call more plays now because he has an offensive line that's been together, and he has more confidence they'll be able to pick up people and block in passing situations.
The first down for South Carolina today. Trying to run the ball. Keith Adams just turned Neesmith around right at the line of scrimmage, and that's why Adams leads the ACC in tackles with 149 coming into the game.
This guy is a tackling machine. I mean, about every 4 snaps, he's involved in a tackle. He's already set the Clemson single season record for sacks with 13. He broke the record that was set last year by Dingle, who had 10.5. He broke that record already. He's got 29 tackles for loss already this season and 143 tackles. Not much more he can do, but he intends to try and do that today.
The numbers are so unbelievable, it's almost like video game. Watson makes the catch across the 45 to the 46. Hardly made the tackle for Clemson, but Gamecocks well short of a first down as they approach the midfield area.
You know, even though this play didn't gain a lot of yardage, it's a fake inside and a throw outside to the running back with a couple of blockers, almost like a wide screen pass. Derek Watson, he's a playmaker. He's a guy, he's a breaker for him. First game he played, hardly making a tackle for Clemson. First game he played for him this year, David, over 100 yards rushing as a true freshman. So they know he has potential. They wanted to get the ball to him today.
In the mud against North Carolina State. And the third down conversion. Beautifully thrown pass. Ryan Scott inside the 15 at the 13-yard line. Carswell saved a touchdown for Clemson. Here's a guy with a lot of talent that is just beginning to realize his potential, Brian Scott.
And what was so nice about this play is something I mentioned a play or so ago. Picking up people to block. Look inside, everyone. Everyone's picked up on the blitz. And the block there, Brian Scott gets inside. It looks like a chance for the ball to be intercepted. It was missed. Scott concentrated, caught the ball, and went downfield. I guess we can share now, David. Yesterday we talked with Skip Holtz. He said if Brian Scott comes to play, he can be a big-time receiver for us. And on that play, he showed why.
41 yards from Petty to Scott. Watson up the middle. And There was a little crack there before Adams closed it up at the 11-yard line. South Carolina's offensive line, they've had 16 different players along the offensive line, 7 different starting lineups. They've been together now for a couple of weeks, and they're playing much better today, Charles.
Playing much better. The last play they picked up the blitz with the running backs also. This time they carved out a little bit of hole for Watson. Adams, of course, stepped in and filled up that hole, but Watson had a few yards to run, which they haven't had much of this year. Usually there's contact for them as soon as they can't touch the football or at the line of scrimmage.
He's Smith and Watson in the Carolina backfield. Incomplete, intended for Smith at the 10. Braxton Williams had good coverage, but the ball was thrown just behind the South Carolina fullback, and Petty, who is now 4 of 6 for 71 yards, is looking at a 3rd down play at the Clemson 10-yard line.
And this is a big-time call here for Skip Holtz and Coach Lou Holtz, because South Carolina cannot afford to come away from here with no points, and with their kicking game being as not good as it's been all year, I mean, it's not very good at all, they would rather try and get a touchdown here than kick a field goal.
In and out of the hands of Fleming, almost picked off by Clemson. A pass that should have been caught and had some interesting possibilities if it is by Fleming.
Yeah, trying to throw the wide receiver screen and bring him down inside. You know, sometimes people call it a jailbreak screen, or defensive players call it a headache screen, because if you catch it, you're supposed to get a headache when you catch that ball. Ben Fleming had it in his arms, and I think he was peeking inside and saw all the guys coming in, especially number 46, Chad Carson for Clemson, and that took his concentration away from the ball.
28-yard field goal attempt for Steve Florio. He missed 3 last week, but he knocks this one through the uprights, and Florio, a hero early here at Columbia, puts the Gamecocks on top of the Clemson Tigers 3-0. An impressive drive by South Carolina.
Teams all year, but they haven't made significant changes with the guys kicking the ball, so that tells you something. It tells you the backup guys are not guys they want to use also, so you're right there, that could be significant.
Good point. Macbeth lets it fly. Reeves, who had a great return to open the game, not so great this time. He was dropped at the 21 by Brewer. Well, he's just a great football player. This guy, he would never come off the field if he didn't have to. Stay tuned at halftime for our Bell South You Call the Play feature. A look at a big call from Southeastern Conference games past.
You're right about Ryan Brewer. He'd be the guy back in the old one platoon days.
Yeah.
That's when he should be playing, you know, so he can go both ways. You're right, he never wants to come off the field.
Mr. Football in Ohio. Dantzler swarmed, dropped. Abraham, Caldwell back at the 10-yard line. It's Caldwell 96. They got there first.
Let's go back to a conversation we had, David, that we can share with everyone that we had yesterday with Charlie Strong, the defensive coordinator of South Carolina. He showed his interior front, Cecil Caldwell and Cleveland Pinckney and Matt Marshall and Clem Edwards. He showed them the film of the Florida State Clemson game, and Corey Simon, Florida State's All-American nose guard, had a big game inside. He told him, that's what I need out of you on Saturday, and Cecil Caldwell's off to a great start.
Pinckney and Caldwell, 2 key guys. Here comes Abraham, breaking in from the left side.
Big-time rush by a guy that's going to be playing on Sundays next year. John Abraham, been battling injuries all year, but he got off the line of scrimmage as fast as anyone has this year. Kind of looked like Alex Brown from Florida, anticipating the snap count, gets to Dantzler fast. That just leaves him 2 sacks short of Andrew Province's all-time South Carolina record of 26. He just needs 2 more today, and I'm sure he's going to try and get them on this series.
Clemson is looking at a 3rd down and very long. They need more than 20. And Dantzler is dropped again by big 95. There you have it. Abraham dropping Dantzler near the line of scrimmage, and Clemson will have to punt the football from deep in its own territory.
And right now, John Abraham's going to come to the sidelines and call up to us and tell us that it should be a sack. Now, it won't be a sack because it was an obvious run play by Dantzler. But again, Abraham, a big tackle for a loss. Clemson has to punt the ball, and field position becomes the key. You see Lou Holtz on the sidelines. He's one of those old-time coaches, David. Field position is the key for South Carolina's offense, and they're going to have great field position here.
Romano gets the punt away. It's a beauty. Brewer somehow managed to get away from one Clemson tackler. Excellent little return as Mance was unable to wrap him up. Boy, Brewer is a tough guy. Well, let's look around the SEC, presented by Morgan Keegan. It's number 1 against number 3 down at the Swamp later on today. Florida's Doug Johnson leading a high-powered Gator attack, while Florida State's Peter Warwick is the go-to guy for the Seminoles. The winner will be in the driver's seat for a shot at the national title. That's the big one. And some other big ball games around the SEC: Georgia and Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn. Auburn has never lost that game in that series in an on-campus situation, which is an interesting.
Yeah, 4-0 at home at Auburn against Alabama. Now we know why they wanted to get out of playing every year in Birmingham.
Watson, the ball carrier, stuffed at the line. And there's that linebacker again. Adams in on the stop along with McKenzie.
You're going to be calling that number a lot today. You know,
every week.
They do a great job. Clemson does. Reggie Herring uses his defensive front to make sure that they keep people off of Keith Adams so that he can just flow to the football and make plays. He's not a real big guy, only about 210 pounds, playing linebacker. He's really more of a strong safety, but he knows how to find the football, but he does need some help from his front guys keeping the bigger blockers off of him, and they do an excellent job with that, so he goes and makes 15 tackles a game.
2nd and 9. Neesmith almost running ahead of his blockers is dropped. Adams again up around the 47. Help from Jason Holloman, number 76. Phil Penny played his best game of the year last week against Florida. Bothered by injuries, he went down against Mississippi State in game 4. Didn't play against Ole Miss, Kentucky, Arkansas, Vandy, Tennessee. Came back last week. Really played his best game of the year, and the coaching staff for South Carolina felt like he would play well today.
And so far he has. And you're not supposed to come back off of 5 weeks of inactivity and play as well as Phil Petty did last week. It's a credit to him for staying with the flow during the whole time he was out.
Petty with good protection and a lot of room to run. And picks up a South Carolina first down at the 44-yard line of Clemson. Braxton Williams made the tackle.
Good coverage downfield by the Clemson secondary, but no one accounted for the quarterback. The linebackers were in coverage or blitzing, and then Petty's able to step up in the pocket. Thought about throwing the ball, but saw all that open field, decided, let me run for it and get the first down before he was brought down on the backside by Braxton K. Williams, whose father was a letterman for the Clemson Tigers in the early 80s, I believe 82 and 83.
He was a good football player.
He was. Unfortunately, that's my vintage, David, so my age is starting to show now.
You're a young fella.
Young at heart, that's for sure.
With the tight end, South Carolina showing a lot of looks with their offense. That's big number 88, Jim Lewandowski. His first catch of the afternoon.
Yeah, South Carolina's going to pull out all stops today. Lewandowski, the tight end, is 6'4", 253-pounder. He's a senior now, and everyone wants to play in the big rivalry game. You know, DeMarco Fox, the secondary guy who we talked about earlier today, made the tackle. But, you know, Lewandowski, no stats for him for the year. So that tells you a lot about what this game means. Everyone tries to produce in a rivalry game. Lewandowski has done that for his team.
Get those seniors in there.
Get them in there, give them a chance.
2nd and short. Neesmith is all by himself. South Carolina is first and goal at Clemson's 5-yard line. 30 yards on the play.
And the plays that they are running are not trick plays, surprise plays, unusual plays. Just a little play action pass, fake to the tailback, and then he hits Neesmith swinging out of the backfield on what they call a wheel route. Dexter Polite, the corner, had to make the tackle, but it seemed as if Neesmith was unaccounted for by the defensive secondary of Clemson. He was wide open. Skip Holtz has to be real happy, the offensive coordinator for South Carolina. He can call a lot of plays now he hasn't been able to call all year because he finally got a team together he's been able to practice with for a couple of weeks.
He's got a quarterback that is on fire as Watson slips in the backfield and is taken down easily for a loss of a yard. Check your scoreboard. Other action around the world of college football. Such a big day. Tennessee out in front of Kentucky. That's big for the Vols after the big loss last week in Arkansas, to see how they'll bounce back. Virginia leading Maryland in the 2nd. That's the end of the first quarter from Columbia. South Carolina trying to snap a 20-game losing streak on top. The Gamecocks on a Florio field goal lead the Tigers, who missed the chip shot field goal in the first quarter. It's 3-0. And South Carolina was threatening to score again.
Don't be surprised now, Dave, if this becomes 4-down territory for South Carolina. Field goal was nice, but they sure like to get to the end zone. They haven't done much of it this year.
Gamecocks are second down. Petty throws it away. A lot of pressure. And a good decision by Petty. Here's a look at our John Hancock first quarter stats. What about South Carolina, Charles Davis, with 128 yards in total offense?
That's amazing, because that's almost their output for ball games in most situations. I mean, they barely get 200 yards in total offense. They have 128 in one quarter. But look at the rushing yards, -6 by Clemson. That's not what you would expect from having a mobile quarterback in Woodrow Dantzler, especially as many times that they've run him already.
8th play of this drive coming up for South Carolina. South Carolina averages 226 yards per game at 128 in the first quarter. Overthrown, intended for the tight end Trey Pennington. And a big rush again from Terry Bryant. Clemson putting pressure on Phil Penny, and here comes the field goal team. They'll settle for 3.
Yeah, I can see why you don't go for it in that situation, because it's a lot of space, a lot of yards to try and get for a first down. They tried to sneak the tight end back on the outside after all the flow went right, but excellent coverage by Chad Carson, number 46, the linebacker from Clemson, prevented that pass from being completed.
24-yard field goal attempt by Florio, and he's perfect. He's 2 for 2. 28-yarder earlier in the game. Now another chip shot for Florio. We'll be back after this message from Pizza Hut. South Carolina leading 6-0.
By Toyota. Toyota, the value is real every day.
Clemson fans rather quiet at Williams-Brice Stadium, have not had much to cheer about so far. Their team trails the Gamecocks 6-0. South Carolina has put together a couple of impressive drives. Most recently, a 9-play, 51-yard drive, which bogged down inside the 10. Florio finished it with a 24-yard field goal, but they've had a 10-play drive, Charles, a 9-play drive, and 2 field goals to show for it.
Two honest-to-goodness drives for South Carolina. Skip Holtz has got to fan himself off from exhaustion right now. He doesn't usually get to call that many plays in a row, so he's awfully happy. The team has to be excited, and that's what brought this crowd really into this ball game. 2 field goals, their team's ahead. They're not used to that very much this year either.
Macbeth's kick fielded by Reams, and a nice hit by number 34, Rod Thomas, keeping Clemson's offense backed up. They'll start from their 23. Tigers 5-5, trying to become bowl eligible, and played the most difficult schedule in college football.
Yeah, and South Carolina's played the second most difficult schedule. See Tommy Bowden checking over his play sheet, conferring with Rich Rodriguez, his offensive coordinator. They're only averaging 3.4 yards per play right now, David. Clemson really needs to step that up.
Dantzler, nice cutback. Still manages only a couple of yards. Corey Atkins, Kenneth Harney, 2 of those linebackers we talked about in on the stop.
It looked like Dantzler was coming to try and throw a shovel pass inside, but Harney, number 44, knocked Zachary, the back, out of that play. Dantzler had to keep it, came up inside. Number 58, Corey Atkins, who's had a big senior year, comes up and makes the stop.
Quick toss. Ball is caught by Sir Gallis, the tight end. And a first down for Clemson. Rashad Faison made the tackle for South Carolina.
And Sir Gallis, who has really come along as the tight end, came to school as a fullback and still would rather play fullback, but as long as balls are being thrown his way and he has a chance for production, he'll be happy to stay at tight end. In that play, everyone bypassed the tight end, and now Clemson come out with a trick formation, real spread formation. South Carolina trying to figure out how to adjust to it.
Emory and Henry type formation. There's a flag drop as the ball is caught by Lawyer, but Someone's knee may have touched the ground.
Yeah, the ball was thrown out wide to Lawyer, and when he went down to catch the ball, because the ball was thrown low by Dantzler,
it's offsides on
South Carolina, but the ball was thrown wide to Lawyer. He had to go down to catch it, went down to one knee. Ball is dead in college football. In the pros, he would have been able to advance it. Nothing worse than coming out in a spread formation.
On the defense, 5 yards from the previous spot, first down.
Someone must have just lined up.
Yeah, you know, it was a trick formation, and it got South Carolina thinking. They weren't really prepared for that. But there's nothing worse than coming out in a spread formation, trying to do something tricky, and then throw a ball out there, and the guy goes on one knee, and the ball's dead. So fortunately, Clemson got bailed out on that play.
And a little different lineup formation. 3 on the right, 3 on the left.
Don't be surprised if South Carolina just blitzes this formation with only 3 guys on the line and 1 back to block. Maybe you come after the quarterback here.
Wide open over the middle. And another first down for the Clemson Tigers. That is number 80, Matt Bailey, a sophomore from Stone Mountain, Georgia. And Clemson has South Carolina back on its heels.
And you're right about that, David. And what this formation that Rich Rodriguez and Tommy Bowden have concocted has done is it has confused South Carolina. That last play, Bailey just came running free. No one there to cover him. South Carolina trying to figure out what coverage to go with and who has who in coverage situations. That's difficult to do right now.
Dantzler, flag drop. So is Dantzler at the 34 by John Abraham. And there's some extracurriculars going on down around the 15-yard line. Ray Green of South Carolina and Matt Bailey got into a little fisticuff action.
A lot of action on that play, and one of the tough things we just saw on camera a second ago is number 95, John Abraham for South Carolina, coming off the field, holding his arm in a funny way. That's a shoulder problem more than likely. Having been through those so many times, I recognize that immediately. And you see he's getting medical help on the sideline right now. They have to get that guy back onto the field.
Well, your source for sports on the internet, jpsports.com, is now online with a great new look and many new features. Each week, we'll bring you previews of our upcoming telecast and in-depth coverage of the SEC. For the inside scoop, log on to jpsports.com.
The last two possessions there, the last 2 plays that we've seen, David, with the spread formation, what they've got inside is the center and 2 guards. Those are 2 guys inside. Then when they split out wide, as you get towards the numbers on either side of the field, here's the call. Looks like a hold against Clemson. Then we have a personal foul, also against Clemson. And we got personal foul, I'm sure, against South Carolina. So those 2 will offset. And that is from the extracurricular. You talked about Ray Green, I believe it was Matt Bailey downfield with the extracurricular blocking. Charlie Strong on your screen, the defensive coordinator for South Carolina. But going back with the spread formation, then you get out wide, you have a lineman and 2 receivers out wide on each side. So what's happening with that is you have to have 7 guys.
We have 3 fouls on the play. 3 fouls on the play. We have a live ball holding on the offense. That penalty is in for 10 yards. Then we also have dead ball, personal foul on the offense. We have a dead ball, personal foul on the defense. Those 2 penalties are going to offset. We're going to replay the down.
Just to finish up on that, you have to have 7 people on the line of scrimmage. It doesn't say they have to be in tight. It doesn't say they have to be right next to each other. Just 7 people up on the line of scrimmage, and Clemson has accomplished that with that formation. And they did confuse South Carolina twice, but unfortunately they held, so they negated all the good things that they did.
Referee Ron Cherry just got more airtime than Lou Holtz.
And that's tough to do.
With that explanation of the multiple penalties. Dantzler, incomplete. The intended receiver is Brian Wofford, who we did not know if he would play or not. Suffered a sprained knee in the second half. Didn't play the whole second half last week, I should say, against Georgia Tech. But he's back in there and had a chance to make a reception.
Dantzler came into this ball game, David, throwing at almost 58% clip, but today he doesn't seem to have his touch going very, very well. This is why South Carolina would rather have him throw it than run it, because of their ability to make plays against him. They feel a lot better if he's in the pocket.
They get him rolling out, and the pass is caught by Watts. He had an option there, Dantzler. He could have picked up 10, 12, 15 yards if he kept the ball, but he had Watts wide open.
But this is a much better throw for Woodrow Dantzler. He's used to being on the move, and now he has a chance to roll, and it gets to the corner unimpeded. You're right. He had a chance to either run it or throw it, but it's an easier throw for him. He completed the pass to Justin Watts on the sideline. Kevin House from South Carolina, number 29, came up and made the tackle, but that's an easier throw for Dantzler than him sitting in the pocket trying to throw over people.
Big third down play. Incomplete. It'll be fourth down for Clemson. Let's go to Warren Pepper.
Just to let you know about John Abraham, all they really want to say for sure right now is he is out. He's really lost the feeling in that right shoulder, arm, you know, the stingers that Charles mentioned a little while ago, that direct hit in that area. So they're going to keep an eye on him and see what happens in regards to the sensation in that right side.
All right, thanks, Warren. Clemson 0 for 4 on third down conversions today. And this is a fourth down conversion attempt for the Tigers. Wofford, first down Clemson at the South Carolina 20. Ray Green had good coverage, but it's tough to defend this play when you have talented people at the quarterback and receiver position.
Very tough to defend it, especially if you're playing a little bit off in your coverage. You know, on that play, Ray Green came over and made the tackle, but he wasn't up in a press position, which would have changed the route. Would have forced Brian Wofford to go deeper. In that case, just a quick slant, both pitch and catch. First down, Clemson.
Zachary, the tailback, inside the 5. First and goal, Clemson. House made the tackle for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
And what was really nice about this play, watch to the right side of your screen. You'll see the handoff coming to number 8, Zachary. But as he gets downfield, you'll see number 23 in white, Rod Gardner, helping with a block. House had to make the tackle, but because Gardner got in his way, there was an extra 3 or 4 yards gained by Zachary. Good job downfield by the wide receivers of Clemson.
And because of the fast break Clemson offense, South Carolina has to take a timeout to regroup. Back after a word from your local station. Lead in Columbia. They are first and goal at the South Carolina 2.5-yard line.
They'll come out of that tight formation, David, and try and do something with it.
Zachary, flag down. Touchdown is signaled. Zachary is shaken up. But we have a penalty flag on the play.
I think what happened on that one, touchdown for Clemson. What happened was they came off the sideline and just blew up to the line of scrimmage. Nice block on the side, but number 13, Pat Sergalis, the tight end, allowed Zachary to be able to stretch out there and get to the end zone. A 2-yard touchdown run for him. And the way that he dove in and extended, guy knows it. All the ball has to do, the ball just has to break the plane to the goal line for the touchdown. Good thinking by Travis Zachary.
Lazera, extra point is good, and Clemson has the lead for the first time today. Lazera missed a short field goal in the first quarter, which would have given the Tigers an early lead. Florio for South Carolina made 2 field goals, but now the first touchdown of the day is scored by the Clemson Tigers.
That's Zachary's 15th touchdown of the season. You know, and now I guess that's his 8th in the last 3 ball games. He had 3 last week and 4 the week before. His tight formation, good blocking up front. So Yalis, number 13, gets a nice chop block in there. The offensive line, a good job, and Zachary extends and gets into the end zone.
That's an impressive drive with a little trickery by Tommy Bowden. They go to the Emery and Henry offensive set, for lack of a better term. Other scores brought to you by Pizza Hut. Tennessee now a 3-touchdown lead on Kentucky in the second quarter, bouncing back nicely from last week's devastating loss in Arkansas. Virginia, Maryland close. North Carolina, perhaps Carl Torbush's final game as head coach there out front early on Duke. Big rivalry game there in Ann Arbor. Ohio State has the early lead. That would be an upset. I'm not sure if anything's an upset in that rivalry, but East Carolina, well, those two have had some great battles through the years. East Carolina, North Carolina State. And then Virginia Tech rolling, trying to remain undefeated. Iowa, Minnesota in the Big Ten. Iowa leading 14-10. And Purdue and the Hoosier State leading Indiana. Jamie Price is going to drop to a knee. Ozera kicks it deep. South Carolina brings it out to the 20.
At the 20-yard line.
Lou Holtz, tough week for him, losing his mother. Was able to get up to Ohio for the funeral. Has not been as involved, certainly, as you would expect in formulating his team. The game plan for this one. He was in on the early preparation and left it over to his son Skip, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And he came back on Wednesday.
Who he did not allow to go to the funeral for his grandmother because he needed him here to take care of the team.
Now South Carolina's offense going to be called upon to try and respond. The pass by Petty was tipped at the line of scrimmage. Had no chance for completion. Nick Eason, 98, got a hand on it. A redshirt freshman basketball player in high school, the Class 2A High School Player of the Year. Georgia.
A little bit of that training came back, didn't it? You know how they teach you to stretch for the rebounds, and you know Nick Eason, they also teach you when you can't get to the passer, get your arms up and try and deflect the ball. Nick Eason, well coached, did a good job on that play.
Doesn't hurt when you start with 6'4" too.
That helps a lot.
Flags everywhere. Adams hits the running back Brewer in the gap. But it looks like Clemson may have been offsides.
It's like a little jumping around in the interior. At number 95, Javon Bush. Looked like he was trying to get off on the snap count, trying to emulate number 95 for South Carolina, John Abraham, who we saw earlier get off on the snap
Offside
count.
on the defense. That's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay the down.
Yeah, Bush's timing not as good as Abraham's thus far, but he's still trying to get off, get the quick jump, get into the backfield, and get a sack for himself.
Good idea.
Very good idea, just not the execution he needed.
Lou Holtz trying to keep his team, get his team up to speed on the history, the tradition, the rivalry of Clemson, South Carolina. Lou very intrigued by historical information himself, so he went out and got every book he could find on the rivalry of Clemson, South Carolina. He came up with 25 questions, gave his team a test. All of the players took it. This is one of the questions that the players were tested on. 59 game, important because A, postponed by the assassination of JFK. B, it was the first year of the home-and-home schedule. C, the last game played on Thursday. D, the first televised game of the rivalry. See how well you folks out there in the Palmetto State know your Clemson, South Carolina history. We'll give you the answer in the second half of the game. You might have trouble passing the Lou Holtz test out there.
I'll tell you, he's definitely the professor on that one. Flag down on the play, and you see Reggie Herring's defense swarming. Looked like number 98, Nick Eason, has made a couple of nice plays so far on this drive, getting in and tackling Derek Watson, but we'll see what the flag is.
A lot of penalties in this first half of football. Let's go down to the sideline again. Warren Pepper. Warren?
You know what's happening here is there's gotten to be a lot of trash talking, and it's starting to get a little stuff going on after the play a little bit. He just pulled a couple of the offensive, defensive captains aside. Said, guys, let's clean it up. Let's keep playing football. But you're starting to see the old yellow flag fly almost on every series.
And that sign that we just saw from the official, I would happen to be here last week.
You saw that last week,
while you were at Tennessee and Arkansas.
The offense, half the distance, we'll replay the down.
And an illegal chop ball. You heard the murmur go through the crowd. They're not believing they're seeing this 2 weeks in a row, because South Carolina does a great job of teaching their offensive line to block. And what they're talking about is if someone is engaged with another offensive lineman, when you hit the second guy and you chop his legs out, you know, it's a tough call against South Carolina. They're trying not to do that, but they've gotten called for it twice in 2 weeks now. This crowd wants these guys to play football. You know, these officials are becoming a big part of the ball game, and no one wants that. Frustration
times 10 on the South Carolina sideline. It has been a long, difficult year for Lou Holtz and the Gamecocks.
And we talked about this off air a minute ago. What was really difficult is South Carolina dominated the first quarter, came out of it with 2 field goals. Clemson's had 1 good drive all day, and they're already on top of the game 7-6 because they scored a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal.
The Gamecocks, not a team that wants to play from behind. Not that anybody does, but they have had so many problems offensively. Here's a big hole for Watson. Brings it back across the 20 to the 22. It's going to be a 3rd down. They'll still need to bring it to the 30. Carswell made the tackle.
The Clemson lining up expecting a pass on a 2nd and long situation. They go with just a sprint play and just isolation inside. Robert Carswell coming up and making another one of his tackles for this year. He's had so many so far. And Derek Watson sprinting up in the hole, showing that potential that they know that he has. He's a game breaker, and they want him to have his hands on the football.
50% today, 25% for the year on 3rd down conversions for the Gamecocks. They need the 30-yard line. They won't get it. Down goes Petty at the 14. Bryant McNeil makes the sack.
And we talked with Reggie Herring, the defensive coordinator of Clemson, earlier this week. He didn't have that many great things to say about his defensive line. I'm sure he transmitted that to them this week. He's seen McNeil getting inside, and also number 43, Adams, is also getting a little piece of that sack. We'll be interested to see how they count that, because that could give them another one to add to his team record total of 13 coming into this ball game.
This is the backup punter, Tyler Dean, standing back near the goal line, and he just drills it. Zachary lets it hit, and it goes out of bounds at the 40-yard line. So a nice job by the number 2 punter, a redshirt freshman. Dean from Barnwell, South Carolina, a 46-yard punt without a return. Clemson leading 7-6 in the 2nd quarter. Intrastate rivalry, a close one in the first half. Clemson with the ball. They lead 7-6. They're at their own 40-yard line on 1st and 10. Almost intercepted. Boy, House had a chance to make a huge play for South Carolina if he gets there just a little earlier.
Great job. Looked like Woodrow Dantzler checked into this play, checked into the quick pass. He must have read or thought that he read a deeper coverage, maybe what we call a cover 3, where the cornerback would be back 7 yards. Instead, Kevin House read it and broke on the football and almost took it the other way. Nice job by him on the corner.
Dantzler wants to throw deep. He got a lot of pressure, but the ball is still completed. What a catch by Gardner, leaping into the air at the South Carolina 35.
When you're 6'3", 217 pounds, and can run a 4.5 40, you're a hard man to handle. And Dantzler, this time they go pump and go. Remember the last play where House broke on and almost intercepted it? This time they faked it and went. If Dantzler had just thrown the ball with some air and downfield, that's a touchdown. Excellent catch by Gardner, because he had to come back and get the ball. Remember Coach Holtz told us yesterday, our defensive backs have to intercept the deep ball? That's 2 times now. They had a chance and haven't gotten it done.
Haven't done it all year. Dantzler dancing around in the backfield, lunging forward for a couple. Anthony Overstreet and Marsters combine on the tackle for the Gamecocks. Only a yard for Dantzler.
You go back to that play that the pass completed to Gardner, and Dantzler takes a step and throws the ball. He threw it off the wrong foot and threw it falling behind and just put air on it. Gardner made a great catch. If he throws the ball well, it's a touchdown because he had it beat.
Take the handoff to Zachary. Big tight end, Sergalis with it at the 25. His 2nd catch of the day. It looks like it'll be good for a Clemson Tiger first down. Arturo Freeman made the tackle, number 12 for the Gamecocks. Boy, this is a load right here, number 13, a redshirt freshman.
And just think, he wanted to be a fullback. He came here to play fullback, and they had him at that position. Now look at him playing tight end. As you mentioned, David, he's a load, but he can run too. And his production has increased with each week. You know, we talked in the conference call with Rich Rodriguez, the offensive coordinator, and he mentioned Sergalis, a nice 9-yard gain on that play. Well-conceived plays now that Tommy Bowden and Rodriguez are talking about. But they said that Sergalis is becoming more and more a part of the offense, and that's unusual in a fast-break offense to have a tight end catching that many balls.
Gardner breaking free. Touchdown, Clemson.
Earlier in the ball game, we saw Brian Scott for South Carolina catch a slant pass, make a difficult catch. And this time Dantzler goes to Gardner. You'll see him isolated out there, gets inside of Arturo Freeman, and when Arturo Freeman slips, he has no deep help because it's man-to-man coverage. And then Gardner takes it, goes into the end zone.
Gardner's third touchdown catch of the year. And the extra point makes it a 14-6 Clemson Tiger lead. Now, for all of the SEC fans who entered their contest, here's an important announcement from your Southeast Toyota dealer.
From breaking one catch away from establishing a new single-season record for catches, Tony Horn had 70. That catch there just tied him. One more establishes a new record.
Of course, with the yardage, single season also. Came in needing 45, I think. Oh, a big hit. A big hit by Brian Mance on Price. South Carolina gets pretty good field position near the 30-yard line. 5 plays, 60 yards, a minute 21. Gardner with the touchdown catch from Dantzler, who after struggling earlier now has completed 9 of 13.
He's got his rhythm now. And one thing Charlie Strong, the defensive coordinator for South Carolina, told us is that we have to knock him off rhythm. We have to put a lot of disguise in and moving around, because once he gets in rhythm and locked in throwing the ball, he gets comfortable back there and does a good job. And that's where he is right now.
And South Carolina is not where they want to be right now, trailing in the second quarter. Petty dumps it. And South Carolina will have a first down. Kerry Hood. But there is a flag drop back in the area where, way back in the South Carolina backfield. Petty, was he roughed up, you think?
I believe so. Young man has a lot of courage back there. I mean, he stayed in there. The rush came very quickly on him. They tried to run play action, but when you're not running the ball very successfully, the defensive line disregards play action, comes right after you.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. That's 15 yards, added to the end of the run, automatic first down.
Big play for South Carolina.
It becomes a 27-yard play, because it was a 12-yard gain on the pass. See the replay coming here. Petty staying in there. Look at the hit he takes initially on the inside. We're not going to see what happens later, but I'll tell you what did happen. A second Clemson player came in late, and he jumped on top of the pile, and that's where the referee threw the flag, protecting the quarterback. Big play for South Carolina. Helps change field position for them, which is what they needed.
They're trailing Clemson in the second quarter. Ryan Brewer to the 35 of Clemson, close to a first down. Chad Speck, free safety, made the tackle.
This young man is rapidly becoming a crowd favorite here because of the effort he plays this game with. I got to see him last week, and he was one of the bright spots for South Carolina because he does whatever it takes to try and gain yardage and win a football game. You talked about him earlier, David. He's the kind of guy who never wants to come off the field. See how hard he runs the football. Over 2,000 yards last year running the ball in high school. Mr. Football in the state of Ohio. You see the talent there.
He's a throwback. It looks like you ought to have a leather helmet and one strap across as he really gets decked by Keith Adams. Brewer holds on to the ball. He does not get a first down for South Carolina.
Speaking of throwback, I mean, in this play, he was knocked back because Keith Adams met him in the hole and won that battle. And when you win a battle with Ryan Brewer, who's going straight ahead, you know you've really popped someone. I'm more and more impressed with Keith Adams with every snap. We saw some film on him earlier, but that doesn't really give you the appreciation of seeing him live. That guy is around the football all the time, and when he gets there, he delivers a blow. A lot of impact in a small package.
Third down play, a short yardage situation. And it's first down as Andrew Pinnock gets his first carry of the game. Pinnock barreling forward. He's another true freshman. Out of Bloomfield, Connecticut. Connecticut's Mr. Football a year ago.
You can tell that the South Carolina coaching staff did an excellent job of recruiting last year. When you can recruit Mr. Football in the state of Connecticut, Andrew Pinnock, and Mr. Football in the state of Ohio, Ryan Brewer, and Mr. Football in the state of South Carolina, and Derek Watson, and all of them agree to come who play the same position essentially, you've done a great job recruiting, because usually running backs don't like to share carries.
I don't know what the high school rules are in Connecticut, but I doubt if you can get up and run after you've been tackled, which was what Pinnock did a moment ago. He's just so juiced up, he didn't want to go down. Scrambles back to the line of scrimmage as Pinnock. Let's go to Warren Pepper again.
Dave, this is a huge moment in this game. They get the ball with a little over 7 minutes, and everyone knows how explosive Clemson's offense is. What South Carolina absolutely must try to do is get something, keep the ball here in the remaining 4.5 minutes of this quarter so that they can not tie it or go ahead, stay very much within striking distance with 2 quarters left.
Excellent point what Warren makes. You know, they want to hold the ball and run as much clock as possible and obviously come out of it with points. Great point by Warren.
Using the clock on this possession. Incomplete. Polite and great coverage. Hood was the intended receiver, but he was well covered.
Well covered, inside-out coverage. Number 34, Polite on the corner, covering the wide receiver. And from the inside, they're all everything safety Robert Carswell. Coming from the inside, you see Petty on the play-action fake, steps up and throws. Now, if there's one small criticism you have, you almost want to get it on the line a little bit quicker because the receiver flashed open earlier, but that's a tough throw anyway. He put it down there pretty well. The double coverage inside. You heard the crowd roar. They wanted a little pass interference on that play, but it wasn't there. It's just excellent coverage.
Option. Petty to the 31. 2 yards. Nick Eason dropped him. But given the field goal situation for South Carolina all year long, you would not think that they would be in field goal range right now. It's 4th down and 8.
You don't see any movement coming from the bench towards a field goal. This is a situation where they're going to go for it on 4th and 8 because it would be, let's see, ball's at the 31, David, spot at the 30, it'd be a 48-yard field goal attempt. You might as well try and get something out of here. Now it's important for your receivers to know where the first down marker is when they run their routes. They have to get a first down.
Watson, the tailback, Neesmith, the fullback. Petty throwing, completing it. First down, South Carolina. Matthews, the tight end, out of bounds at the 21-yard line. Charles Hayfleet was covering, but a very well-designed and executed play by South Carolina.
It really was, and the good thing is that Phil Petty on the backside. Watch the top of your screen. You see number 91, Bryant, coming after him. Petty had that internal clock. Brian McNeil, number 91, came after him. Petty had that internal clock and knew, I've got to get rid of the football, and was able to do that. Hit Trevon Matthews, and you know something? Trevon Matthews has to be happy. It's his 2nd catch of the season. 2nd time he's caught the ball, so a great job.
Big 3rd down, 4th down pickup for the Gamecocks. On the reverse. He's got running room. Keller to the 6-yard line and a flag. Big play for the Gamecocks.
I think it's going to be wiped out, unfortunately. This is one where an over-exuberance on the offensive line is going to wipe out an excellent play. Yeah. They're going to call it a legal block. But what happened, you'll see on the replay here, they're going to come into, all the flow will go left. Fake inside to Brewer. The ball comes back to Jermel Kelly on the handoff, number 84. See the turnback block there, number 78 out in front, Kevin Rivers. And as Jermel Kelly gets tackled, watch the top of your screen, right? Didn't quite show up there, but what happened was the South Carolina offensive lineman got downfield and came in late and hit someone in the back, and that's what's going to bring it back.
From the spot of the infraction, so the ball is moved back to the 17-yard line. First quarter, the Gamecocks were rolling. Second quarter, it's been all Tigers with 144 yards. Only 35 for the Gamecocks. But South Carolina is moving the football late in the second quarter. And they'll burn a timeout with 3 minutes and 3 seconds to play in the first half of the football game.
rather unfortunate turn of events for South Carolina. When you run your trick plays and you run your phantom raiders, as a lot of people call, a lot of coaches call them, you can't have errors in the execution of that. I mean, that's what you gear up for.
Once you burn it,
you burn it, because now they've seen it and they've got an adjustment for it. And so, he's Coach Holtz once again talking with the officials, just trying to get clarification. I remember last week he was so upset about the illegal chop block call, and I was here, and I said that's what he's upset about. He clarified this week. He said what I was upset about was no one told me what the penalty was and who it was on. And I wanted a clarification. So I'm sure that right there he was just clarifying again what the penalty was about. And not so much that it happened, but who it was on, so they can have a chance to coach and correct it.
2 first-year coaches, Tommy Bowden of the Bowden clan, done a wonderful job. The 45-year-old coach coming from Tulane. Lou Holtz, the veteran coach with the tremendous overall coaching record, 11 years at Notre Dame, an undefeated season in 1988. Arkansas, North Carolina State, Minnesota.
He even took William and Mary to the Tangerine Bowl. The guy's won everywhere that he's been, so I have no doubt that things are going to turn around here at South Carolina. And remember, he started this game in a sweater. Yeah, he's out of the sweater already. If you don't think he's into these football games, there's an example. He's down to the polo shirt, and he's coaching hard.
Austin Watson. Here's Watson, the tailback, to the 15. Crunched by Jason Holloman, number 76. Junior out of Decatur, Georgia. Well, one thing that South Carolina has done, and Warren alluded to it earlier, they've been able to keep the football, keep it away from Clemson, and keep this game close. Watson is shaken up.
And they've been, it's funny, if you look at the statistics, all year long, South Carolina has not had a great offense. I mean, that's one of the understatements of the year. They've been pretty dismal on offense, but they have done a good job of controlling clock. And if you look at their stats for the year, they're almost even in time of possession with everyone, which is almost amazing considering they haven't done so well on offense.
Pizza Hut scoreboard. Saw Ohio State leading Michigan, East Carolina leading North Carolina State at the half. Virginia Tech all over Temple, trying to remain undefeated. Iowa on top of Minnesota at the half, 21-10.
Playing for that big Paul Bunyan axe up there, that Iowa, Minnesota, and then Purdue and Indiana playing for the old Oaken bucket. A lot of hardware on the line this week in rivalry weekend.
Second down for South Carolina. Pinnock barreling to the 10. Adams brings him down. You talk about a guy, they compare him to Jerome Bettis. He's got that kind of a body.
And he's actually wearing the number that Bettis wore in college. Bettis played for Coach Holtz at Notre Dame, and he wore number 6 at Notre Dame. Here's Pinnock, built about the same, with the same type of running style, wearing number 6 at South Carolina. Coincidence?
Don't think so. He had eligibility problems, didn't become eligible until September 28th. There he comes, over the middle. Pinnock dropped by Adams again, inside the 10-yard line. South Carolina moving the football, controlling the clock. They still have one timeout remaining. And they are at Clemson's 8-yard line.
And the best plays that South Carolina runs tend to be plays that go straight ahead, not much wiggle or not much movement, because they don't have the game-breaker type guys that Coach Holtz wants. And now with Watson on the bench with the ankle injury, they really don't have their speed out there.
13th play of this drive. Trying to run a little pick play, and Ryan Scott can't get free. There's a flag drop, however, down around the 5-yard line.
Took the official a little bit of time to get the flag out of his pocket, but he was reaching for it off at the top. Petty trying to throw inside. Looked like number 34 in white, Dexter Polite, had the coverage on number 82, Brian Scott. He had that tight press jam coverage, and I think they called him for holding inside. The college rule on interference is a little different from the pro rule.
Illegal hands on the defense, on an eligible receiver, half the distance, automatic first down.
in the pros, that'd be what they call an illegal chuck. Anything past 5 yards, you can't put your hands on him. In the college game, you can have your hands on him anywhere until the ball's in the air. And I think that's what they got Dexter Polite for. He had his hands on him when the ball was in the air. That's illegal.
First and goal at the 4. Pinnock. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Excellent job up front by the South Carolina offensive line. They don't get a whole lot of credit, but let's talk about them a little bit. The center, Phillip Jones, number 65. The right guard, Kevin Rivers, number 78. Melvin Page, number 72, standing his man up, the offensive tackle. On the backside, Langston Moore and Cedric Williams. Touchdown, South Carolina, and they will go for 2 and attempt to try and tie this ball game up.
An impressive drive by the Gamecocks.
Look at the spread. You've got Pinnock, number 6, at the bottom of your screen. That's a big wide receiver.
And a flag.
Might be delay of game. Might not get in the playoff in time.
That makes it very tough on a 2-point conversion.
Delay of game on the offense. 5-yard penalty. We'll still have a try.
But you still might as well go for 2. It's a 2-point differential. And the ball now is spotted at the 8-yard line.
In a lot of cases, people would switch up and go ahead and kick it. And now it looks like Coach Holtz is going to go ahead and do that. But now they're calling timeout on the sideline. At first, I thought I saw him signal, let's go ahead and do it anyway, as you mentioned, Dave. Let's go ahead and go for the 2. And now it looks like they're going to go ahead and kick the extra point.
It'll be from the 15, so a 25-yard extra point for Steve Flory. And now there will be a timeout taken by South Carolina, using their final timeout of the first half. Well, what a drive by the Gamecocks. They had fallen behind 14-6. They needed to control the football. They got the ball with about 7 minutes left in the quarter. And they kept it, moved it up the field, put it into the end zone. You know, the South Carolina offense, Charles Davis, only had scored 5 touchdowns all year long coming into this game.
And you heard the roar from the crowd when he got into the end zone. And I know that when he got into the end zone, everyone in the crowd that's a South Carolina fan checked for flags. Because last week when we were here, they scored, and there was an unbelievable roar that would have put them in a position to tie up the ball game. There was a flag, and they had to take the points off the board.
Let's go to the sideline of Warren Pepper.
Just for a moment, spent some time with Harold Green, who last year was in the old Super Bowl with the Falcons. Are you saying you got out when the getting was good? What's on, Harold?
When the getting was good, you got to know when to say when. You're exactly right, Warren.
What memories do you have in your playing days in this particular game against the Clemson Tigers?
Well, just one of the biggest games, of my career was playing Clemson, regardless whether it's in Death Valley or here in Williams-Brice. The camaraderie of the game, the hype, seems to show the fans, they have just as much fun as we do and get the adrenaline flowing. And, regardless of what the records are, it's one of the biggest games. It's a battle of the bowl.
Harold Green, former Gamecock, talking about what it was like when he was down here. And we'll go back upstairs.
All right, well, the conversion failing for South Carolina. Nice play by Braxton Williams. We'll take another look.
Petty just comes back in the pocket and fires it out there. Braxton Williams does a good job, and a lot of people are probably going to call for face guarding, trying to get the ball out there to Ryan Brewer, number 21. But Braxton Williams gets the arm out in front. Ball's knocked away. One thing about Braxton Williams, he's listed as a linebacker, but he's really more like a strong safety type. Again, a smaller, lighter guy who can go out and cover, and showing his ability here. Just watching the receiver, seeing when the arms go up, he knows the ball's coming, read his eyes and his arms, got his arm up at the same time, knocked it away. Nice job defensively by Braxton K. Williams.
Coach Holtz, after thinking about the 1-point conversion, deciding during the timeout to come back and try to go for 2. Now upset about the no pass interference call against Braxton Williams and the Clemson Tigers. But his team, he's got to be very pleased with his offensive football team in the first half to score 12 points. Get a touchdown, 2 field goals. They've not scored more than 14 points in a game all year.
And You know, he really wanted a two-point conversion, of course, and Tommy Bowden on the other side, glad to see that his team still has a two-point lead. But, you know, going back to that last play, what Braxton K. Williams did was he laid off of the receiver. Even though people are going to talk about face guarding and you got to look back for the ball, you don't have to. The rule doesn't read that way. You don't have to if you don't have contact with the receiver or not engaged. He read the receiver's eyes and arms, got his hand up in time, and the ball was knocked away. It's a good defensive play, although a lot of people wearing garnet and black are not going to agree with that call at all.
Including that man right there on the sideline for South Carolina.
Yeah, you know, he's always talking about, you know, I'm not really talking about the call the official made. I just want to know who did it. He's probably lobbying a little bit about the call, too.
I think so. But again, his team right in it against the intrastate rival, Clemson Tigers, with 1:21 to play in the first half. Macbeth kicking it off. Reams, this will be a short man up looking into that bright sky. And Ray Green makes the tackle, and here's another flag at the 35-yard line. Spec on the return for Clemson.
Tell you what, David, the referees and the officials, here comes the call. No legal block. And I'm quite sure they're seeing all of these things. This is not me criticizing the officials, but by the end of today,
it's a 10-yard penalty, first down.
By the end of today, all of the officials may need some medical attention to ice down their arms from throwing the flag so much. That is not what people pay to see. They want to see more flow, more continuous play, and I'm sure both teams would like that also. But if they're there, the officials are trying to call them.
Just doing their job.
Just doing their job is what they're going to tell us.
Ball is at the 22. Rambert, the ball carrier. And Bernard Rambert, a freshman from Summerville, South Carolina, gets his first call of the day.
He's a true freshman, too, and a real takeoff play here. Just a little sprint draw, and he finds a hole and cuts it back inside. Good block inside, and Kenneth Harney has to come from his linebacker spot to make the tackle. What that run did was give Clemson a chance to have field position, throw the ball to try and get more points before the half is over.
Gardner makes the catch. Kevin House makes the tackle for South Carolina. Up around the 47-yard line. Clemson still has 2 timeouts remaining, and they'll use one of them here, stopping the clock with 47 seconds to play in the first half.
And even though they only have 1 timeout left, there's still plenty of time for them because the college game, the clock stops on first downs. So if your team hustles up to the line of scrimmage, even if you have to spike the ball to stop it again once the ball's signaled in play, you have an opportunity to move downfield.
In addition, they play a 2-minute offense from the opening kick.
So they're very used to this. This is not foreign territory for Clemson at all. And now they have field position to run a few different plays. That first running play that Rambert made, that was the key to the whole thing. Because if they didn't get much yardage on that one, I think Clemson might have tucked it in and taken it in for the half. But when they got field position and yardage, now you have a chance to throw the ball again.
Pass completed a moment ago to Rod Gardner, the junior from Jacksonville, Florida. His 4th catch of the game. And he's caught 4 for 96 yards, which puts him in the Clemson record book.
For two situations, right? Number of catches in the season, which broke Tony Horn's record, and then also the yardage. Now he's set a single season record for yardage too. Excellent season. And remember, he's only a junior. And Terry Bowden says his upside, as they like to say, is tremendous.
In the yardage, he broke the record of Perry Tuttle. He's a great receiver at Clemson.
Pretty good receiver, national championship team.
Steve Fuller throwing him back in those days. Dancer throws into a crowd, not intercepted. We talked about it with Lou Holtz yesterday. Charles Sheldon Brown was there, but he couldn't pick off the long ball.
Couldn't pick it off, but good coverage. You know, it was a combined coverage too. Andre Goodman, number 35 on the corner, does a good job staying with the receiver. Then Sheldon Brown, number 24, comes from the inside. Dancer was trying to find his playmaker Gardner one more time. But boy, was he blanketed on that play. Excuse me, I believe that was Mal Lawyer that he was trying to reach down there, and the ball was broken up. Good double coverage, inside out, the corner and the safety.
Dancer changing the play on 3rd down. The play clock at 1 as he takes the snap and completes the pass. And Clemson has the first down at the 40-yard line with Gardner again.
It's a first down, so the clock has to stop. Clemson, you see Clemson now hustling to the line of scrimmage. Gardner trying to get himself set up so that he's not offside. Clemson now has a chance to run a play without having to spike the ball. The ball will be signaled in play. They can go ahead and run it. They did it anyway. It's all right. But hey, you know, now number of downs isn't all that important because there's really 4-down territory for you no matter what you're doing here. But he has 28 seconds, still has, I believe, 1 timeout left. Or are they out of, yeah, it has 1 timeout left. And again, first downs will get the clock stopped almost as effective as timeouts.
South Carolina scored with 1:21 to play in the second quarter. Tommy Bowden's team has taken the football from its into the field around the 20, and they moved it to the Gamecock 40. And we still have 28 seconds to play in the half. Ansler wants to go deep. And he stops the clock stepping out of bounds at the 33-yard line.
He ended up picking up an excellent block by Theo Mugros on number 55, Kalimba Edwards. Now Mugros, the offensive lineman for Clemson, number 6, he did a great job picking off Kalimba Edwards, number 55 for South Carolina on the rush. That allowed Dantzler to get to the corner and use his feet to get out of bounds and stop the clock, as well as gain a few yards. You see Mugros right there. Did an excellent job. This is the first year he's been a starter, and he's really played well for them this season.
Marked up last year as a sophomore. Ansler keeping the ball. He's got a man open. Wide open is Zachary. And Travis Zachary is out of bounds at the South Carolina 7-yard line. 11 seconds left in the half.
What a beautiful, beautiful play by Terry Bowden and Rich Rodriguez. What they did was, again, flow went left. Everyone went left. Dantzler took the ball to the left, and then he was able to use Zachary to kind of get back against the grain, against the wash. No one had accounted for him, and he went back to the other side and was wide open.
26 yards on the play. Tip at the line of scrimmage by Abraham, or near the line. He was dropping into coverage and raised that big left arm up. Got a piece of it.
He was down for a little while, but I think we both knew that he was not going to be out. I mean, you knew he was going to come back. This is his senior year in his last game. It's against Clemson, using that big paw, stretching out and using all of that height to knock that ball away. I think Clemson takes one more shot at it here, and then they have the timeout and have to kick a field goal if they don't score.
Incomplete. Gardner caught the ball, it appears, deep in the corner, but he was out of bounds.
It's okay. It's a good play. See Tommy Bowden. I think he's looking for a flag on that play, trying to get an interference call. But it was a good call because he went to his top receiver, you know, and he's throwing it to a guy who's 6'3", 217, going up against a corner who's more like 5'10", 5'11", and he has a chance at it. Ball's thrown up. Just didn't have enough room. You have to give Kevin House a lot of credit. He pushed him along the sideline. It's like an extra defender for a defensive back. Here's a field goal attempt by Lazara.
Gardner did not catch the ball. Lazara hammers it through and gives Clemson 3. 17-12. The Tigers lead the Gamecocks. Let's go to Warren Pepper.
Yes, Coach, you squeezed 3 there at the very end, very close throughout the entire first 2 quarters.
Yeah, they're a good defense. I knew they would be. I knew scoring would be hard. They're moving the ball a little too freely on our defense. I'm surprised at that. But their defensive effort doesn't surprise me at all.
Good. Tommy Bowden heading to the locker room with his team up 17-12. We'll be back to talk more about this rivalry when we come.
We got to do better in the running game.
All right, Coach Holtz on his way to the final game for the Gamecocks here. Hey, guys, they want one real bad here. And as Skip Holtz told us yesterday, the offensive coordinator, hey, forget about beating Clemson. They want one for themselves.
Well, that's what happens when you've lost 20 in a row. And you're just desperate to taste some kind, any kind of success. And only 27 teams have gone 0-11 in college football history. There's some pretty big names in that group. Florida State, Kansas State, and then some others, Duke, Rutgers, Northwestern. But no SEC team has ever gone 0-11 on the field. There have been some forfeits which resulted in 0-11 in the record books. But on the playing field, no Southeastern Conference team has ever been 0-11. And South Carolina does not want to be the first, and they're going to play like the Dickens in the second half, Charles Davis, to avoid that distinction.
And no reason that they shouldn't either. They had such a good first half. You know, they weren't happy about how they finished the first half, allowing Clemson to get that drive and kick a field goal, but there's no reason for them to be discouraged at all. They've played an excellent first half and have a chance to do it again in the second.
And in the first half, Lou Holtz's team drove the ball 70 yards, 51 yards, and 71 yards. Had 3 long drives, so they have shown an ability to move the ball on Clemson's defense. Ryan Brewer is the tailback. Lee Smith the fullback. And Petty rolling to his right. Throwing on the run. It is incomplete. Up around the 35-yard line. Intended for Scott. And it'll be second down and 10 for the Gamecocks.
Brian Scott had a chance to be open on the play, but kind of slipped coming out of his cut, coming back to the ball on the comeback route, and that threw off the timing of the play. But you notice South Carolina's not very conservative today. A lot of first down passes. You know, something that you wouldn't expect out of a team that struggled on offense and wants to establish a running game. Skip Holtz calling a good ball game from the coach's booth.
On a draw, Brewer to the 26. Keith Adams, number 43, in on the tackle for Clemson, and he'll bring up a third down and about 5 for South Carolina.
This is again a little draw play, as you mentioned, David. Lead block by Neesmith, good block on number 46 Carson, and then as Brewer's trying to spin, Adams had a nice tackle, and Adams needs to give an assist to number 57 Langston Moore, the offensive lineman from South Carolina. He helped bring down his own guy trying to throw a block.
Out of the shotgun, Petty on third down. There is no flag. There might have been early contact on the pass, but there is no penalty flag. The ball was caught. Tight end Lewandowski made the reception. DeMarco Fox was right on his back.
And you called Lewandowski's name in the first half, his first catch of the year, and here he is. And look at that concentration. He makes his second catch on the year. I thought DeMarco Fox was there about a count early. They could have called him for interference, but they didn't. And it's going to be fourth down, and South Carolina will have to punt. Tyler Dean, the backup punter in the game since Courtney Levitt broke his jaw, and he hit a boomer in the first half, David.
Yes, he did. Only punted 3 times this year coming into today, but forced into service due to the injury. Levitt. Now Dean back, Carswell the deep man, and a delay of game will be called against that's Zachary, the deep man. Delay of game will be called against South Carolina. They did not get the ball snapped.
And I really don't understand that, and I'm sure Coach Holtz
dead ball, delay of game on the kicking team.
I'm sure he doesn't understand that either. What's it take to run out on the field and line up if you know everyone is supposed to go into the game? How many times did he tell us that in our meeting yesterday? He spent 3 times as much time on the kicking game here at South Carolina per day than he ever has anywhere else he's been, and still results in penalties like that, because that's field positions. 5 more yards that Clemson is going to gain on them. They can't afford that.
Special teams have been a mess for South Carolina this year. Dean driving spiral. Good location on the punt. Zachary has to run across the field east and west, and it's down at the 39 or 40-yard line by the South Carolina Gamecocks' Thomas Hill. 39-yard punt by Dean without a return for Clemson. Tigers football, their first possession of the second half when we come back. To 12. Clemson gets the football for the first time in the second half after their defense forced the South Carolina punt. They are at their 40-yard line.
Already called the play from the sideline, David, so they just come right out and line up and go.
And they're spread out all over the field. Dantzler keeps it and is driven down by Pinckney, the big nose guard. Junior college transfer, number 62 out of Copiah Lincoln Junior College. Dantzler has not just run wild out there, and South Carolina has to be satisfied for the most part with the way they've contained him in the running game.
They ought to be, but amazingly, and I shouldn't say amazingly enough, but he has hurt them in the pass game. The thing that they wanted him to do, he's hurt them with. The thing they don't want him to do, he has not hurt them with.
Trying to break free in a scrambling situation. Dantzler across the 45 and dropped by Pinckney at the 46-yard line, and he had a lot of help from his friends. It'll bring up a third down for Clemson at their 45.
This drive has started almost exactly the same way the first drive of the game started. The exact same play call on the first play, with Dantzler just taking the ball and running a sweep with it. And in the second play, things broke down. He ran it again. Big third down here.
No huddle offense. Dantzler pressured, throws it up, incomplete at the 35-yard line, intended for Brian Wofford. And Tommy Bowden is out on the field arguing with the official about a no call in this situation.
Can't say I disagree with him, because I think I saw the same thing he did. They checked off from the sideline to go to a deep ball. Dantzler throwing off of his back foot. Arches is up there for Wofford. On the backside, Ray Green, number 3 for South Carolina, actually had a piece of the jersey of Brian Wofford. And it was down low, so the officials probably obviously didn't see it, didn't call it. That's what Tommy Bowden's so upset about. He wanted interference.
Brewer fields the punt from Romano. And bulldogs his way out of bounds at the 27. Well, he is tough. Good catch on the run. Rapley, number 55, made the special teams play for Clemson.
Another example of the great hands that Ryan Brewer possesses. Skip Holtz told us yesterday the kid's got unbelievable hands, but it's not that he just has good hands. He works at it. He puts himself in tough situations, fielding punts and fielding kicks, and has a kicker punt it and make it difficult. He works on it day in and day out. There's an example of hard work paying off, fielding a difficult punt.
The tailback is Pinnock for South Carolina. Neesmith, the fullback.
He's done. Abraham's also.
Two teams have exchanged punts in the third quarter. Pinnock tripped up. Guess who? Keith Adams in the backfield makes the tackle for Clemson. Let's go to Warren Pepper for an injury update.
News not good for South Carolina. Derek Watson, number 22, on crutches, will not play the second half. John Abraham has also taken his pads off. He is done. It's more of a leg injury than the shoulder that he hurt earlier in the ball game. From Clemson's standpoint, everybody's healthy. No injuries to prevent anyone from going back in the final 2 quarters.
Now, par for the course for South Carolina. They lost Boo Williams in the Ole Miss game, Game 5. They're starting tailback. Now they've lost Derek Watson. Of course, this is the final game of the year. Petty throwing it long and too long. He was trying to hit Brian Scott, but Dexter Polite had it covered.
Trying to stretch the field. Dexter Polite again from the outside, and Robert Carswell, the safety, from the inside. They bracketed Brian Scott down, bracketed him deep. Jermale Kelly actually came free underneath on a deep bend-in route. And Phil Petty had it in his mind. He wanted to go deep to Scott, try and get a big play. It was knocked away by the Clemson defense.
Third down and 12 for the Gamecocks.
Here they come, David.
Clemson in a blitz. Pass incomplete. He wanted the freshman, Michael Ages, but had no chance to hook up that time with the pressure coming. Clemson on a blitz. It's 4th down.
It was a blitz read, and Michael Ages, the true freshman, didn't pick up the blitz read. He ran a route different than what Phil Petty threw to, because it was a blitz read. Clemson showed it early enough that Petty had the blitz read. Some of those things, what they call sight adjustments. You have to read it and make the move yourself as the receiver and get on the same page as the quarterback. But it's tough when Petty hasn't been in the lineup for weeks and you have a true freshman playing. The coordination often isn't there.
Zachary, the deep man. Dean gets a punt away. Runs into his own man, and I don't think it was touched by a Clemson player. Well, South Carolina will just down the football, and that's where the Tigers will get it at the 37. What could have been big disaster for Clemson. But the Tigers take possession after a 38-yard punt by Dean. All right, in the first half, we told you about Lou Holtz's final exam. He gave his team a test, 25 questions on the rivalry. If you didn't pass, and he told us that one player actually did not pass the test, would not be in uniform. We don't know who it was, but this was one of the questions that Lou posed to his team. The 59 game, important because there are the options. What's the answer?
Well, you know, it's pretty simple for me because I got to learn the answer yesterday. First year, the home-and-home schedule. They used to play those games on Big Thursday. You know, part of the State Fair of South Carolina. They decided to move it to home-and-home, and so they were moving the game to Clemson after that, and then back here in South Carolina after that. So what was great about it was, you know, throwing in like the JFK assassination, because one year they actually did move a game to Thursday. You know, the Thanksgiving Thursday after that change because the president was killed. So, you know, he's got elements of different answers that could be right in there. You had to listen to what he had to say to get all the answers. A tough test.
Penalty flag is dropped as Zachary picks up first down yardage for the Tigers. Lou Holtz did something similar when he was at Notre Dame, and the Fighting Irish had a traditional rivalry with Southern Cal. Tested his players, made sure they understood the significance of the rivalry.
Yeah, offsides against South Carolina. What I liked best about it was what he told us the reason that it came about. Was he asked his players, why is this such a big game? When he was at Notre Dame, why is this such a big rivalry?
Nobody seemed to know, so he found out.
And so he said, okay, I'll get back with you tomorrow and let you know. And he went and found out, told him why it was such a good rivalry. From then on, he would test his players and make sure they understood the significance of what people were talking about. Nothing like a good history lesson from Professor Holtz.
First down for Clemson at midfield. 5 minutes into the third quarter. Now to Zachary. Gets the call again to the 44-yard line of South Carolina. Sheldon Brown, the sophomore, number 24 from Louisville, South Carolina, made the tackle.
And now the Clemson offense is going into another wrinkle, showing another wrinkle. In the first half, when they ran the football with their tailback, it was usually out of the two-back set with their tailback. This time they came out of the shotgun with an inside handoff to Zachary. They had not shown that in the first half. Tommy Bowden and Rich Rodriguez just adding more and more in the playbook as the game goes along.
Dantzler gives off to Rambert. Rambert's second carry of the game. Good surge by the offensive line. And it appears that Clemson will have a first down at the South Carolina 39. Matt Marsters made the tackle.
I talked about the offensive line of South Carolina in the first half. A little credit has to go to the offensive line of Clemson, because these guys are going in that fast break style, and they don't get much of a chance to rest between plays. Kyle Young at center and T.J. Watkins and Theo Mugros at the guards, John McDermott and Akil Smith at the tackles. And they're doing an excellent job now of controlling the line of scrimmage, especially on the running plays.
It is a first down for the Clemson Tigers at the 39-yard line of the South Carolina Gamecocks.
David, I was walking on the field before the game and happened to run into Tommy Bowden and asked him what he thought of today, and he said, the only thing I wish is that it was hotter. We're smaller and lighter, and we want to wear them out, and we'd sure like it to be hotter and try and do that. Well, it's not that hot, but I think that their fast break football is wearing out South Carolina's defense at this point.
And they keep putting the pressure on. Giving it to Rambert again. And the freshman brought down by Kenneth Harney at about the 33-yard line. Good first down yardage for Clemson.
Remember, at one point in the first half, we were handed the statistic that said that Clemson was only averaging 3.4 yards per play on offense. I think that number has gone up significantly. Nothing really big breaking right now. It's up to 6.8. So you can see how they've really stepped it up. They're not really gashing them real big, but they're getting 5-6 yards a pop every time.
Dantzler, quarterback draw. Needed the 29, did not get it. South Carolina doing a lot of bending, but so far the Tigers with just 17 points on the board. We're almost halfway through the third quarter. Corey Atkins made the tackle on that play.
They're not number 14 in the country in defense for nothing, especially considering the adversity they faced all year because their offense hadn't scored very much. So, you know, these guys have really, really played hard all year. So we talk about a lot of bending, but they don't plan to break.
Clemson 2 of 7 on third down conversions. Here again, the Clemson center, Kyle Young, tried to snap the ball with the South Carolina player in the neutral zone. Let's see if he was effective in doing that.
running that freeze play, trying to pick up the free first down. Sometimes it goes against you if the team's able to get back and you snap the ball and take the knee, then you just have a wasted play. We'll see if he was able to get it off, as you said.
Well, I thought the South Carolina player got back across the line, but nope, offsides is called against the Gamecocks.
They got him again, and that's nice coordination between the center Kyle Young and the quarterback Woodrow Dansel. You see the jumping on the interior. You see Matt Marsters, number 94, and Cleveland Pink the inside, and then that's when Kyle Young snapped the ball. And one thing about Kyle Young, that's a very intelligent young man. He's averaging about a 3.83 grade point average. So, you know, to play center, if people think it just takes brawn, there's a lot of brains involved because he calls all the line checks too when people are blitzing and stunning. Very smart, intelligent football player.
Good, tough running by Rambert. On his feet to the 10. Boy, the freshman is really putting on a display here in the third quarter.
And you see the bounce in number 60, Theo Mugros' stride. When the offensive line gets a little gap in there and they really start to hammer some people. Excellent block out front on number 24, Sheldon Brown. That was Mugros with the knockdown. That's why he's got such a skip in his stride. He's fired up, and the running backs are making steady progress downfield. And they have worn out South Carolina to an extent.
Rambert cutting back across the grain to the 5-yard line of the Gamecocks. Sheldon Brown again made the tackle. And Rambert comes off the field now, and Travis Zachary will return as the ball is deep in Gamecock territory.
Don't forget, Zachary's their touchdown maker. He has about 15 touchdowns for the season, with the bulk of those coming in the last couple of weeks. And Rambert, 5 carries for 50 yards on this drive thus far, having a heck of a possession.
Zachary. Touchdown, Clemson. The Tiger offense efficient on that possession, doing most of the damage on the ground with Rambert and Zachary. And Zachary, the sophomore tailback from Marietta, Georgia, brings the ball the final 5 yards for the score.
If you're Tommy Bowden, you have to say to yourself, mission accomplished. They spread the field in the first half. Sorry with the extra point. Spread the field in the first half and ran them a bunch. And now they're able to pay dividends for them in the second half because they've really worn out South Carolina right now. That defense needs a break. They need the offense to really get a big drive and give them a chance to rest.
The Wolves team now trailing 24-12. They have not scored more than 14 points in the game all season long, so their work is cut out for them at home against Clemson. 4-12. Just over 6.5 minutes to play in the third quarter. Once again, Tony Lazzara kicks the ball deep, and South Carolina has to down the ball. Jamie Price dropping to a knee. Well, the Domino's Bowl Blitz sweepstakes ended this week. Someone won an all-expense-paid trip to 4 college football bowl games in 5 days, including the national championship game on January 4th, 2000 in New Orleans. We'll announce that winner at the beginning of the fourth quarter, so stay tuned.
That's a heck of a prize right there.
Well, that would be something.
That'd be a whole lot of fun right there.
Football fans dream. Bill Penny has directed South Carolina on 3 long drives today. His team needs one right now desperately, and Brian Scott catches the ball on first down and comes close to a Gamecock first down at the 30-yard line. Brian Mance made the tackle for Clemson.
This is a great position for Reggie Herring, the defensive coordinator for Clemson, to be in. This is a nice play for South Carolina. A little fake inside, and then he finds Brian Scott across the middle, slips one tackle before he's finally met and brought down by Brian Mance, the true freshman. But Reggie Herring can play this 2 ways. You know, it's a 10-yard gain on the play, but he can play 2 ways. He can lay back and make sure nothing big happens and run a little clock, or he can be a lot bolder and go after them with a 2-touchdown lead. So this is nice for him because he can figure out what he wants to do as he goes along.
And he kept the ball on a play action. Under all kinds of pressure, Kelly was the intended receiver. He was covered up by Alex Arndlin right in front of the South Carolina sideline. And there is no flag on the play.
I think probably two things go into that one is that, you know, when Petty rolled out, he was really pursued by the defense. You see him faking it inside to number 6 Pinnock, and he rolls out, and he's pursued real hard there by Terry Jolly, number 92. And you saw McKenzie, number 35, coming into the picture. The ball's thrown, has no chance of being caught. I really think that's why there was no flag on the play when Ardley ran up the back of the receiver.
Petty dumps it forward, and it hit one of his linemen right in the back. It's an incomplete pass. It hits Shane Hall, a freshman tackle, right in the back. Bush was he was the intended receiver on this play, but he was surrounded by all kinds of orange and black shirts.
Trying to run the shovel pass inside, going to run with the flow left, and then Jacob Bush, number 33, was the intended receiver, but he runs through the wash, and it looked like number 35, DeMonte McKenzie, did an excellent job of knocking him off of his route and swallowing up that play.
They're down in 10 for the Gamecocks. Petty throwing deep, and too deep for Kerry Hood. Now there is a flag drop here. And Hood clapping his hands as if he knows it's going to go against the Clemson Tigers.
Looks like they may get that long-awaited interference call downfield on this one, and that may be why Kerry Hood's so happy. He was questionable coming into the game because of a thigh bruise, but he's gutted it out in this rivalry ball game.
Mary Call is going to go against Clemson for holding.
Petty again showing some play action, faking it to Pinnock, number 6. Steps up in the pocket. One of the few times lately he's had a chance to really throw the ball. It looked like Ardley, number 28, had a little piece of the Hood as he was running his route. And that's what the call is. Although I would say that if you're a Clemson supporter, you might not have seen that. And to be perfectly frank, I'm not sure I saw all of it either, but I will trust the officials on this play. Someone probably had a much better view than I.
Clearly, if there was contact, it happened earlier on the route rather than later. Lots of penalties piling up on both sides of the field. It's a big one, keeping this Gamecock drive alive. Pinnock bolting across the 45, and Andrew Pinnock will have a South Carolina first down in midfield before Hafley makes the tackle. Boy, I like this guy.
Oh, and there's a lot of him to like. You know, 250 pounds, and I think that's 250 when they weigh him before breakfast. I think after breakfast, he's probably about 260, and he's really packing a load as he goes through there. He's the type of back that pays dividends as the game goes on. The type of back that needs to carry the ball 20 times or so, because what happens is if he keeps getting into the secondary, you don't want to keep hitting him. You know, the defensive backs, they get tired of hitting all that load, and that's when he pays dividends. Then you have a lot more missed tackles and more gained yardage as the game goes along.
6 feet, 250 pounds. The freshman playing well today against Clemson on the final game of this season. Very close, and not quite a first down for South Carolina. Let's take a look at some scores of other games. Tennessee leading Kentucky now in the third quarter by 2 touchdowns. Virginia and Maryland have been locked up in a close one all afternoon long. North Carolina blowing out Duke. You think that's a statement on behalf of the players for head coach Carl Torbush?
And you know, East Carolina, North Carolina State is a big rivalry too, and you see that one going down in Tech and Temple.
Carl Torbush, very popular coach with his players. Had a lot of tough luck in Chapel Hill. To see him be able to keep that job as Pinnock dropped at the 45-yard line by Keith Adams. First man there, and then lots of other Tigers to help out, but it's easily a 1st and 10 for the Gamecocks. This is a very important possession for South Carolina, and they are moving the football.
Huge possession. Got a good lead block by Anton Neesmith, number 40, inside, and the offensive line is getting a surge again on Clemson. And as I mentioned before, Pinnock, if he gets to the secondary enough times, there will be more missed tackles later because people get tired of hitting 250 pounds running full speed at you.
Pinnock, no place to run. Excellent defense by Braxton Williams. He had the corner closed off on the option.
And that's how you have to stop a big guy like that. You have to get him in the backfield before he gets his momentum up. And in this play, the timing was chipped off, and you see him there. He's got to make a move, and Braxton Williams doing a nice job. And then from the inside, number 98, Nick Eason, also comes over to make the tackle. Going back to Carl Torbush, is that a statement for the players? I think that you're right. It is a statement if the players like him and are popular. The tough part is the administration is going to ask the players, where were you the rest of the year? If you really liked him, you should have played better for him before. And that's the tough part about being a head coach. High risk profession.
Penny dumped at the 45 by Williams. Well, number 48 has had himself quite a football game.
And Braxton K. Williams, we've talked about him in a number of situations. He knocked away the 2-point pass. He's been involved in a number of tackles and good plays earlier today. This time he comes in off of the corner, off of the edge. Wasn't blocked. Jonathan, look there, Langston Moore didn't really have a chance to step over and block him. Braxton Williams was on it fast. Again, you saw that the change in college football happened years ago with Miami, using the speed and people using undersized guys at those positions, and it continues today, and Braxton K. Williams is an example of that.
Petty is down again. This time, Keith Adams. And let's see if they've blown it dead or if this is a fumble return. It's Clemson picking up the football.
I think that they blew it dead. What happened was the referee saw the side judge or one of his other officials had the mark of where the ball came out. The referee took off from his position to go down and help with the play. Help with the play concluded, knowing that they had it marked. There's actually good coordination by the officials. See Petty coming out on a little half sprint, trying to look back. Tackle there by Keith Adams. The termite, he's down on the play. Another sack for Adams. He adds to his total. Then Braxton K. Williams, Johnny on the spot, picks it up and tries to get additional yardage, but the play was blown dead.
And the right call was made. Dean called upon to punt again for South Carolina. They used a lot of clock, but not able to penetrate deep enough to get in scoring position. Dean has done a nice job punting it after the injury to Levitt early in the game. Travis Zachary hit at the 30. Well, there's some hard hitting going on down there as Zachary goes down at the 35-yard line. Clemson takes over the football, leading the Gamecocks 24-12 in the third quarter. We'll be back after a word from your local, leading late in the third quarter in Columbia against the Gamecocks. Clemson offense getting untracked after a slow start. Only 41 yards in the first quarter, 274 since, and they are first down at their own 35. Chancellor throwing deep for Gardner. There's a lot of contact, and here comes the penalty flag.
Now, we can't be totally sure that this is not offensive pass interference, the way that Gardner was yanking on the defensive corner bit on that play. I can't wait to see which way they call it. Dantzler coming back, just a quick drop. He faces one way, comes back. It is offensive pass interference. Throws it up to the sideline to his big receiver. See Gardner yanking and pushing on Kevin House, and the call does go against Gardner.
Pass interference on the offense. 15 yards from the previous spot. We're going to replay the down.
So when you throw it deep like that, one of the good things that can happen is you might get pass interference. This is one you don't really expect to happen, where your guy is caught with his hand in the tip.
Yeah, that's very rare. You see Tommy Bowden, he's not happy about it at all. It's very rare that you see offensive pass interference. I think what he's arguing is that my guy was trying to knock it off because the other guy was holding him. But from my vantage point, a good call.
15 yards marked off back to the 21. Zachary, or rather Rembert, the tailback, dropped by Harney up around the 24-yard line. Rembert has been very effective, very productive in a limited number of carries today at the tailback position.
I'm really impressed with Clemson. The few true freshmen that they've played have done a good job for them today. Brian Mance on the defensive side made a couple special teams tackles, and Rembers really carried the ball well on the offensive side.
Wofford's first catch of the game. Out to the 32-yard line. Rashad Faison made the tackle for South Carolina. Brian Wofford, who had 52 catches coming into the game. Second only to Rod Gardner on the Clemson football team this year. Suffered a sprained knee last week. Didn't play in the second half. Makes his first catch this afternoon.
Big third down for the South Carolina defense. They need to get the ball back. They can't afford for Clemson to convert.
They fake the pitch to Wofford. Dantzler can't find a receiver. Out of bounds he goes. Kevin House comes up and lowers the boom. Clemson will have to punt the ball.
Good job by Charlie Strong. Stop troops. This time they don't let Dantzler make a big play on him. Marco Hutcherson, who's in the ball game replacing John Abraham after his injury, chases him to the sideline, and Kevin House comes in and bumps him out of bounds. Good job for Charlie Strong and his team, and they should get decent field position for their offense.
Romano back to punt. And Brewer standing deep for South Carolina. Oh, he fumbled. The sure-handed freshman let one get away from him, but Faison fell on it for the Gamecocks, and it'll stay in South Carolina's possession.
Did I jinx the young man? I mean, I tell you, I was just telling everybody, I was bragging on his hard work ethic, and one of the few times you'll see Ryan Brewer do that. Drop the ball, and there's a big scramble. South Carolina was able to hold on to the football. Rashad Faison, who's had a great year as the nickelback in the defensive secondary, on the spot there, showing his nose for the football, coming up with a fumble recovery.
Late in the third quarter, South Carolina trailing 24-12. Here's Petty rolling and dropped again. And again, the flag is dropped. Keith Adams makes another quarterback sack. He came into the game with 13. He's just having another monster game for Clemson's defense, but we'll check the flag.
They really have a hard time blocking him because he moves so well. He knows how to cut on the run. You'll see the nice surge by the front line, and they get through there, and then Adams, unable to be blocked by Antone Neesmith, comes from the other side and gets the sack. And I believe that's where the penalty will come in also. Looked like a block in the back on Adams, and he was still undeterred and made the play.
Clemson has had so many great linebackers. Adams just the most recent, but interestingly, there are 7 Clemson Tiger linebackers in the NFL this year, including Ed McDaniel, Levon Kirkland for Pittsburgh.
On the offense, decline.
Oh, it's a tradition of Clemson. Holding is decline. Well, the announcers for this game are selected and compensated by Jefferson Pilot Sports. This broadcast a copyright presentation. Any use of this broadcast without the express permission of the Southeastern Conference and Jefferson Pilot Sports is prohibited. Second down for the Gamecocks. And he goes down again, does Petty. This time the freshman, Rodney Feaster, feasts on the Gamecock quarterback.
Making his first start, a true freshman. The first start of his career came into this ball game. And Reggie Herring said he's going to be so excited. He'll probably bust the first 5 assignments we give him. But he's hung in there pretty well today and ends up getting rewarded with a sack late. The interesting thing that I'm seeing, David, and I'm sure Skip Holt and his crew have a much better explanation than I can have for it, is why would you be in play action in this situation? Because you have to throw the football. A lot of times it's because of the protection you have to have.
And that's the way the third quarter will end, on a sack of Petty. It's 24-12, Clemson leading the Gamecocks as we go to the fourth quarter from Columbia. It is 3rd and 28 for South Carolina from their 15-yard line. Almost intercepted, but it hit the ground first as Polite one hopped it at the 25. Neesmith, Phil Petty just threw that up for grabs to the center of the field. It was 14. Had that one picked off, and South Carolina will have to punt the ball away. Well, Petty started hot, but South Carolina has bogged down offensively in the second half and has not been able to accomplish much against the Clemson Tiger defense.
A lot of credit has to go to Reggie Herring and his defensive staff for making the adjustments at halftime to take away the things that South Carolina was doing to gash them in the first half.
Dean's punt, not real long in the air, but boy, does he get a bounce. And the ball is down to the 37-yard line by Ages. Well, now it's time to look at the BMW Ultimate Drive of the game, brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. In the third quarter, the Clemson Tigers able to drive the ball 63 yards on 8 plays, and Travis Zachary, the sophomore tailback, carries it in for the touchdown, putting Clemson on top after the extra point, 24-12, with 6.5 minutes to play in the third quarter. Clemson's defense has been so effective throughout the second half of this game. And now they put it back in the hands of their offense, and Zachary carries the ball across the 40 to the 41-yard line. Wouldn't be surprised, would you, Charles Davis, if Clemson pretty much just kept the ball on the ground at this point, early in the fourth with a 12-point lead.
And there's no reason for them to do otherwise. Their offensive line is controlling the South Carolina defensive front at this stage of the game. The running backs are running the ball well, but would also helps them set up. If they want to, they can go play action, try and get something deep.
Zachary is hit. They won't run it too many more times if they keep getting plays like that. From Cecil Caldwell, the senior from Newberry, South Carolina, number 96, plugging the gap. Third quarter stats, and you can see how Clemson has turned this thing around with 328 total yards, now only 184. So South Carolina got very little done offensively in the third quarter.
They really did. The average yards per play has flipped around totally. Clemson now at 6.7, and South Carolina has dropped back down to 3.5, which is more in line with their average for the year.
Third down conversion, incomplete, intended for Mal Lawyer, one of 11 seniors on this Clemson football team. And it'll be fourth down, and Tommy Bowden's ball club has to punt the ball back to the South Carolina Gamecocks. They're a scrappy team, and you know they're not going down without a battle here in the final 15 minutes.
And Matt Lawyer may be a senior, but Tommy Bowden's still coaching him up on the sideline. I saw him chasing the sideline, tell him about the route that he ran, or there was something over there he didn't like, and he followed him all the way into the bench area. This game is not over yet by any stretch as far as Tommy Bowden's concerned.
And Brewer trying to make a big play for South Carolina. Brings the punt back to the 31-yard line of the Clemson Tigers. The momentum sways now from one side of the field to the other.
And now it's Braxton K. Williams, who we've called a lot recently, makes the tackle, the saving tackle. But now South Carolina has to capitalize. They've got to put the ball in the end zone. Excellent punt return by Ryan Brewer. Fumbled the last one, and he came back strong on this one to bring the ball back and really change field position, give his offense a chance to score. The one thing that Ryan Brewer is lacking as a football player, and that's pure speed. You know, in that situation, there was an opening. He just couldn't mash the gas and get there. He did a great job getting all he could out of that play.
Which was 42 yards to the 31-yard line of Clemson. Pennick driving in behind the right side of his offensive line, and that's a good first down surge by the Gamecocks. Javon Bush, the sophomore from Hardyville, South Carolina, made the stop. A pretty good yardage for the Gamecocks, a team which has struggled running the football all year long, and now suddenly their offensive line is healthy, has been together for at least a couple of weeks, and they have had some success running the ball today against Clemson.
And that left side of that line, Cedric Williams and Langston Moore, were defensive linemen starting the fall. So they're still adjusting to playing offense.
Pennick stopped by Adams. Adams now has 15 tackles today.
Is that all? It's just 15?
That's all we could find for him.
It seems like a whole lot more because he's around the ball all the time. And out of those 15 tackles, I would estimate, because I don't have it right in front of me, I'm estimating 3 sacks are also involved in that, as well as probably a tackle or 2 for a loss. 2 sacks out of that, well, I gave him an extra one just for the effort. So, you know, if anyone deserves an extra one, it would be him. But he sure is fun to watch play.
Great football player. Now third down and 6 for the Gamecocks. First down, South Carolina at the 15-yard line. The tight end, Rod Trafford, makes the grab, and the Gamecocks are still alive.
Rod Trafford, this is his 3rd catch of the season. So we talked about Trevon Matthews earlier, making his 2nd catch of the season, and Lewandowski making his first 2 catches. Trafford on a little drag route across the middle. Shows concentration in good hands. DeMarco Fox having to make the tackle on the play, but his first down, South Carolina inside the 15.
And he had good protection, able to stand in the pocket and fire a strike. Pinnock sweeping left at the 10. Pinnock barrels across for the touchdown. Don't count them out yet. 11:29 to play, and South Carolina has come roaring back.
Remember what I said earlier about the big guys as they keep rumbling down as the game goes along. After a while, you don't want to tackle him. Dexter Polite gave it an effort, but that's a lot of guy to keep bringing down. And it hurts after a while, David. Trust me, I used to be out there. After a while, hitting 250 pounds, full speed hurts. And Andrew Pinnock busted that tackle and went into the end zone. It's a real mismatch, one-on-one in open field with that big, that kind of size versus a defensive corner.
It's a 6-point game, and the Gamecocks will play for the 2-point conversion. They flood the right side, and it is incomplete. The pass intended for Scott, broken up by Ardley. Another look at the touchdown, and we talked about Pinnock. He got some great blocking from his offensive line. So Pinnock puts it across, and the Gamecocks have cut it to 24-18 in the fourth quarter.
The strength of the Southeast
Carolina Gamecocks with 18 points on the scoreboard, more points than they've scored in a game all season long. They scored 14 in a loss at Arkansas, got beat 48-14. Other than that game, this is the only time this year that the Gamecocks have put 2 touchdowns together in one game. Reams bringing the kick out. There's a flag dropped as Reams is dropped at the 30. A lot of flags thrown on both sides of the field today, and the officials talked this one over with 11:14, 11:19 on the clock left in the football game.
We have a block in the back on the return team. That's a 10-yard penalty, first down.
A lot of costly penalties against Tommy Bowden's ball club today. Warren Pepper on the field. Warren.
You know, I spent the last few minutes on both sides of the field. Over across the way, even before the last touchdown, Clemson assistants were imploring their guys to understand the game's not over. In the meantime, a major revival meeting going on with this offense. They felt like the defense gave them a chance to get something done, and they went down and took care of it. We've got quite a scene down here, and believe it or not, 11:19 left. Nobody has left the building.
Well, they're jammed in here, the second largest crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium history. And now Clemson will have to use a timeout. They had a player sprinting in from the sideline, only have 10 men on the field. So confusion reigning right now on Tommy Bowden's sideline as the Tigers have to stop the clock with 11:19 to play. And still Clemson leading by the score of 24-18. 5 wins, 5 losses for the Clemson Tigers. They played the most difficult schedule in college football. And South Carolina trying to avoid a winless season for the first time in its school history. Some scores of other action today around college football. And Tennessee playing Kentucky. And the Volunteers are really putting it on the Wildcats now in the fourth quarter. And that makes one man smile in this booth. Maryland leading Virginia 30-27 in the fourth. What about Tennessee, Charles? Your alma mater bouncing back nicely today after that very difficult loss to take last week at Arkansas. Wondered about them. To be honest with you, didn't know how they would respond, but they show a lot of character today.
They did show a lot of character, bouncing back, realizing that their national championship hopes of trying to repeat are gone, and sometimes that sends teams into a tailspin. There's a lot of credit to Philip Fulmer and his staff for getting them ready to go today.
Very important series, wouldn't you say, for Clemson?
Oh, without a doubt. They need to control the ball here.
Gardner was the intended receiver, and he was covered up in the secondary by Arturo Freeman.
And what's happening now is on that pass, Tommy Bowden just told his quarterback, Woodrow Danzo, the ball has to be thrown inbounds. because they thought that they had another chance for an interference call. But with the ball out of bounds and not catchable, they're not going to get a flag on that play. So they have to make sure balls are in bounds where receivers have a chance to get them in order to try and get some of those calls.
A moment ago, we were talking about Clemson just trying to run the football and control clock. Now they've got things spread out all over the place. And an interception by South Carolina. Harney picks it off, and the Gamecocks are in business at the Clemson 22-yard line. It is the first turnover of the football game.
The first turnover of the game. And what's interesting is that now this makes South Carolina, ball was tipped on the inside. I believe it was Sheldon Brown, number 24, the defensive back. And he tipped it to Kenneth Harney, who brought it back. And wearing number 44, looking like Jim Brown at Syracuse, trying to get to the corner and make a big play. But that now makes South Carolina +5 in turnovers in their last 4 games. Dancer throws the ball inside. Brown with great coverage on Mal Lawyer. Then Harney's there on the tip drill, which all good defensive teams practice, and they're in business 1st and 10.
And they give it to the big freshman, Pinnock. The same play that he scored a touchdown on, and Carswell brings him down at the 14-yard line.
And on that play, excellent blocking on the left side of the line for South Carolina. That offensive line now establishing themselves, and 2 guys there, Cedric Williams, number 76, and Langston Moore, number 57. Those are guys who were former defensive linemen who are really growing into being good offensive linemen. Let's see what the flag is.
Referee Ron Cherry.
After the play was over, we have 2 fouls on the play. 2 fouls. We have a dead ball, personal foul on the defense. We have a dead ball, personal foul on the offense. We're going to offset those penalties and the down count where the ball was last.
So, right back where we would have been. Back at the 20. Well, they'll keep the play down to the 13-yard line.
The play will count, so it'll be down at the 13-yard line.
9-yard pickup for South Carolina.
And this is where both teams must be careful to make sure they have their emotions in check. Because this is obviously it's a huge game for both teams, but at the same time, you can't do something crazy and let your emotions get away and get a penalty that's going to hurt your ball club. Both teams were lucky in this instance that they offset. No one was penalized. A run wasn't wiped out for South Carolina, and Clemson didn't give up any more yardage towards their end zone. Nice run by Pinnock, 13 carries for 52 yards. That was a 9-yard run. What I like most about it, David, was he showed the old law start at the 4 of the stiff arm, trying to fight off Carswell, who did an excellent job of bringing him down.
Give it to the freshman again. He'll get a first down to the 10 before Charles Hafley, the sophomore from Pompano Beach, Florida, makes the tackle on the young man who is a load for Lou Holtz, Andrew Pinnock.
And I can't make that point enough. When those big guys get the ball and they're running straight ahead and going what we call downfield at people, watch the end of this play. Watch him blow the boom on Hafley. Hafley makes the tackle, but Pinnock wins the battle because he continues to go forward. As those guys keep getting the ball, it pays dividends as the game goes along because the tackling isn't as sure.
Hit at the line by McKenzie. Very little, if any, gain on first down for South Carolina. Inside of 10 minutes to play in the 4th quarter. Clemson a 6-point lead against the Gamecocks. Tommy Bowden's defense put in a difficult situation after the pass interception by the South Carolina Gamecocks, Harney. And it is 2nd down for South Carolina. The Tigers really beginning to key in on Pinnock. Adams made the first hit, and then Carson, another linebacker, came in and finished off the job. But they just get the feeling that this number 6 is going to be getting the ball a lot, and he is.
Oh, and this is credit to Reggie Herring. It's a run blitz. Pinnock actually ran through number 43, Adams. We haven't said that often today. That just shows the load that Pinnock is. But Reggie Herring has decided he's loading up and going after Pinnock and is bringing his run blitzes for that. Now let's see what South Carolina does on 3rd and 11.
We've got Kelly and Scott flanked out to the left side. And Petty throwing it for the corner of the end zone, incomplete. No chance for completion, hardly. Excellent coverage on Kelly. South Carolina, which trails by 6 points in the game, will try and get 3 of them right here.
Try and make it a 3-point ball game and count on that defense, which has played so well for them all year, to get the ball back again. You see another shot, Tommy Bowden on the sideline. During that defensive possession, Clemson was on defense. I don't think he was talking to Reggie Herring, defensive coordinator. He was talking to Rich Rodriguez, planning their next series on offense. That's where his specialty is.
Steve Florio has already been good from 28 and 24. Now add one from 29. So he is 3 for 3 today, after missing 3 field goal tries last week against Florida. Lou Holtz's Gamecocks are still in it. 24-21 Clemson. Gamecocks making it interesting here in Columbia. Desperately trying to avoid an 0-11 season. Clemson, with a win today, will become bowl eligible, likely headed for the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. And the plot thickens with 8:44 to play in the football game. And South Carolina has just added 3 points on a 29-yard field goal by Steve Florio. Now Clemson is going to need to establish something offensively, because all of a sudden the momentum is all on the Gamecock side of the field. 6 plays, 11 yards after the Harney interception. And Florio 3 for 3 for the day. Joe Don Reeves has done a nice job returning kicks today for Clemson. And he will be dropped at about the 35-yard line. Macbeth made the tackle for the South Carolina Gamecocks after a 34-yard return by Joe Don Reeves.
It's kind of fitting Macbeth, the kicker, making a tackle, since he also hits the ball on the baseball team for South Carolina. So, you know, he's a hitter either way.
And Reeves, a big baseball star as well.
Reeves a baseball, so you had 2 baseball stars butting heads, didn't you?
All right, Clemson's offense needing to establish something here, and they give it to Zachary. Travis Zachary brought down by Freeman. A big gain for Clemson, and a flag is dropped on the end of the play.
Imagine, David, it'd probably be a face mask. The key will be whether to be the 15-yard variety or the 5-yard variety. You see a big hole up front. I mean, look at that. There's Mugros again getting another knockdown, number 60 for Clemson. And then Freeman with the tackle. Imagine TJ, also I mentioned TJ Watkins, number 73 up front for Clemson. Open a big hole.
Well, the guards have played well, Watkins and Mugros.
And they gave
now 15
yards on the face mask there. Call him the violent variety, not necessarily meaning they're trying to be dirty, but just he got his hand hooked on, and when you snap the neck or really turn the player, it's almost always going to be 15, even if you release the mask later.
In the second half, Clemson just 7 points after leading 17-12 at the half. Woodrow Dantzler hit from behind and dropped by Harney back at the 31-yard line.
Not only does South Carolina need a stop right now, you'll see Dantzler here just trying to control the ball, spying position out there. Number 99 Overstreet wasn't letting him get outside, and that allowed Kalimba Edwards to make the play from the backside. But South Carolina needs to cause a turnover. I mean, right now would be a great time for them. If they could get another turnover similar to the interception Harney got before. They need the football back and can't allow any more points.
Blitz, Zachary, hit. Matt Marsters, the first man, number 94. By and large, the front 4 for South Carolina has made it tough for Clemson to control their offense on the ground. And it's a good defensive team, the South Carolina team. They've had trouble scoring all year. Now it's 3rd down and 10, though, as Clemson faced with a very important play here.
Not bad numbers Dantzler's put up today against the number 14 rated defense in the NCAA. He had a tough start, but he really came on, has played pretty well all day.
Incomplete. Lots of pressure right up the middle from Cleveland Pinckney, and Dantzler had to hurry his throw. Lawyer was his intended receiver. Great coverage by Sheldon Brown. But the key was the pressure that came right up the middle from Cleveland Pinckney.
And the pressure that came up, when you blow up the middle, and you're able to get there. That's the old thing they teach us. You know, the shortest point between two things is a straight line. You know, and when you're able to blow up the middle and get in the quarterback's face early, has to get rid of the ball fast, but it didn't allow a chance for the route to develop. And couple that with good coverage downfield, you've got them.
Play clock ticking down, and Clemson is going to use a timeout. It's 4th down for the Tigers. Backed up at the 29-yard line. It'll be 4th and 10, and Clemson wants to talk things over now with Tommy Bowden bringing Woodrow Dantzler to the sideline.
It'd be a 46-yard field goal if he decides to line up and hit it. A 46 or 47-yard field goal.
Zara hadn't hit one that deep in his career.
He's 43 for as long as 43 for the year. So coaches know these things going in. Now it's a tough one because I think he'd rather kick the field goal and hopefully score and make it a 6-point game again. Put the pressure on South Carolina to score a touchdown. But if the field goal kicker isn't capable, now you got to go to your next set. Now you got to go to your next bag of tricks. Now he's talking about what do they call for a 4th and 10 play.
Now you got to get 10 or give the ball up to South Carolina, which you don't want to do. Their momentum, 6:47 left. North Carolina shuts out Duke for Carl Torbush, 38-0.
That'd be great if that was able to have him keep that job.
Yes, it would. Michigan comes back on Ohio State and holds on for a 1-touchdown victory in Ann Arbor. East Carolina defeats North Carolina State 23-6, the final score. And Virginia Tech rolling up another big victory against Temple. They'll score some big BCS points with that one, I'm sure.
That was a BCS points message game there.
Minnesota defeating Iowa in the Big Ten, and Purdue over Indiana in the old Oak and Barrel Classic.
Go back to that Ohio State-Michigan game. That means Ohio State's no longer bowl eligible.
Right? When was the last time that happened? They need 10. They're going for more. And they get it. Touchdown Clemson on 4th and 10. Gardner with the catch.
I go back about 24 hours. Hours ago, we're sitting in Coach Holtz's office, and he was saying we have to do a better job defending the deep ball. We never get any of them. And Dantzler with an excellent throw over the top. Gardner, it looked like great coverage by Arturo Freeman, just never really reacted to the ball. And Gardner came down with it, and that's a backbreaker.
That's a big-time play for Clemson. The extra point is good, but there is a flag on the play.
And sometimes in this situation, guys get an extra lick in, you know, in kick situations because of frustration. So we'll see what the flag is. But big league throw and catch from Dantzler. Yeah, roughing the kicker in South Carolina. Big league throw and catch from Dantzler to Gardner. I mean, Tommy Bowden told us he's been our playmaker. He jumped up and he did a great job on it.
On 4th and 10. Clemson rolls the dice, goes for the big play, and they connect. Dantzler to Gardner, and now the Tigers up by 10. Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. One whale of a football game. Interstate rivalry, the 97th renewal of Clemson, South Carolina. And the Tigers have just gone up 31-21. As Price will bring the ball out from the 5-yard line. Dropped at the 19 by Joe Don Reeves. Well, it's time now for our Amico play of the game. And here it is. We just saw it moments ago. It's a beautifully thrown pass from Woodrow Dantzler to Rod Gardner for a touchdown Clemson, which gives the Tigers a 10-point lead with 6.5 minutes to play in the football game. And what a night, what a day for Gardner. Over 1,000 yards for the season now, 1,009 yards career, or rather season passing yardage for him. Brian Scott hauls into Petty pass at about the 27. It'll be a yard or two short of a first down. Adams makes another tackle.
And that stat on Gardner, that makes him the first receiver in Clemson history to be over to go over 1,000 yards in a season. I mean, 1,009 now total, 138 for the day on 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns. I mean, I understand totally now what Tommy Bowden was telling us about how this young man has emerged as a playmaker. And
another year left. Pinnock maybe establishing himself for the future in this South Carolina football program today. Hopefully made another tackle for Clemson. And Lou Holtz told us that last week he felt like was the season opener for his football team, really. I mean, they've had so many obstacles, so many injuries and shuffling around of players. They played very well against Florida. They had a chance to beat one of the top teams in the country here with a couple of breaks here and there. And they played well today against Clemson, a very good football team.
And now they need to make a couple of innings, make some big plays down the stretch. A little bit less than 5.5 to go, down 10.
Didn't get the snap off in time. Delay of game against the Gamecocks. This will cost him 5 yards.
And that'll just, you know, if you're the head coach, that'll pretty much set you off. You know the situation you're in. You know there's a sense of urgency, and you end up in a delay of game situation, down 10 with about, you know, a little more than 5 minutes to go. I mean, get in and out of the huddle with dispatch, gentlemen. All right, with crispness. Let's go. We've got to try and win this ball game. We're not going to win it in the huddle.
Not exactly like you'd like to use all the play clock to begin with here.
No.
Pressure on Petty. He's dropped at the 21. Ball came out of there, but it's going to be South Carolina's football. Braxton Williams, who may have had a breakout game today, the sophomore from Greensboro, North Carolina, was back in the backfield again, along with the old standby Keith Adams.
Well, you know, when your coach starts a true freshman in the last game of the season ahead of you, you know, that gets your attention. And it got Braxton K. Williams' attention today. He and Keith Adams combined on the sack, so I imagine they get a half each. So that's 2.5 for Adams today, and that's 1.5 for Braxton K. Williams. His attention has been gotten. -11 on that. Just amazing job that they've done. And he's been all over the field today. I'm talking about Braxton K. Williams. That will make his father very proud.
Pennant, no place to run, even for a 6-foot, 250-pounder. Bryant McNeil says that's no problem. Redshirt freshman, number 91, is there to put the brakes on South Carolina's Pennant. And it's now 3rd down for the Gamecocks. Their hopes dwindling with 4:11 to play, trailing by 10. And they've got to bring the ball all the way out to the 47-yard line to keep this drive alive on 3rd down.
And it's not a route that's going to gain you a whole lot in that situation unless you're just wide open. You know, unless someone misses an assignment to throw a swing in that situation where it was already long yardage to begin with. Now it's just farther.
Timeout taken by the Gamecocks. They still have 2 timeouts remaining. Lou Holtz's team trailing by 10 points. Trying to snap a 20-game losing streak. Tommy Bowden's 5-5 football team looking to make it 6 in a row in this series. They have won last year's game over at Clemson. Back here.
6 in a row here in
Columbia.
USC actually broke through a couple of years ago and won in Clemson, I do believe. So, yeah, it's a strange series in terms of you figure the home team would really be dominant, but it hasn't really happened that way, especially recently.
I guess in the 90s or in the last 7 or 8 years, last year's Clemson win over in Clemson was the only home field victory. Now 3rd down play and a big one for the Gamecocks with 4:11 to play in the ball game. Brian Scott, the intended receiver, a jump ball, and it is incomplete. Covered by Polite. Just throw it up and hope that the 6'3" sophomore from Darlington can out-jump the defensive back.
Actually took a page from Clemson's book, what they've been doing with Gardner all day, throwing it up against the smaller defensive backs. And now you have to punt the ball because if you don't get it here, you pretty much almost hand Clemson a score. Punt the ball and hope you can force a fumble on the punt return or to make a turnover on defense.
Evan Zachary standing deep. Tyler Dean will punt the ball again for South Carolina. This one very short, but gets a South Carolina bounce and is out of bounds at the 47. So good field position for the Clemson Tigers, who just will try and hold on now with a 10-point lead and less than 4 minutes to play in the game.
This is where Charlie Strong has to, he's just gonna load up now and probably play the run. But the danger of that, of course, is that Tommy Bowden has so many different options at his disposal with Dantzler that they can go play action, heave one up deep. They don't necessarily have to sit on it. They do have that 10-point lead, so they have a cushion.
Dantzler just hands it off safely to Travis Zachary, and there's no gain on the play. Pinckney made the stop for South Carolina. To the sideline, and Warren Pepper.
As we watch Brandon Streeter, you're saying, what in the world was he even doing in uniform? Last week ago today, dislocated hip. They let him dress out a little bit today, went through warm-ups. He's a very, very remote chance of going in. However, there was some thought early that if there was the right situation very late in the game, they might let him go in, take a snap, just because of what he's meant to this program.
Well, he's a class act, the senior from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. His father is here. Rarely gets an opportunity to watch him play. Coaches at Gettysburg College. Football coach up there, so he's here. Very important for Brandon to be in uniform, to be a part of the team. And he is hoping to get at least a snap here late in the football game.
That would be nice for all that he's meant to this team, and as tough as that young man has been over time. I mean, he came back from broken collarbone earlier this year to play, and then he has the dislocated hip, and he's even in uniform. It sure would be nice to see that happen. He's had a great career at Clemson. You know, people aren't going to talk about Brandon Streeter the way that you talk about Homer Jordan, because Homer Jordan won a national championship. But Brandon Streeter is going to leave the Clemson, family as the all-time leading passer in terms of percentage, almost 58%. And this year, almost 68% throwing the football. So this young man has really developed as time has gone on, and my hat's off to him for hanging tough as he has.
Over 3,000 yards passing in his career at Clemson. And it has to be frustrating for him today to have to stand over on the sideline and not be able to participate in this big interstate rivalry, which obviously as a senior he knows all about. But Dantzler has done a very fine job in his absence throughout the year. And the 4 times that Dantzler was forced into a starting position, he played very well. He played exceptionally well last week in relief of Streeter. Actually quarterback the Tigers back into that game before falling finally to Georgia Tech. There's the final with Virginia holding on against the Maryland Terrapins 34-30. The final score from College Park.
That's a tough loss for Maryland, who started out with kind of the surprise of the ACC earlier this year. They've had a few injuries, lost their quarterback, and have kind of limped to the finish, but they gave it a great effort today.
Travis Zachary breaking tackles to the 35. Barsters came all the way from the front line and chased him down from behind. But it's a first down for the Clemson Tigers.
That's the gamble you have to take as a defense coordinator. You have to load up and try and stop the run. But the problem that you run into is if you load up and you miss initially. He made Corey Atkins, number 58, miss, and then Sheldon Brown, number 24, miss before they were finally able to bring him down. A 17-yard gain for Zachary. They're chewing up time and they're chewing up yardage.
South Carolina has 1 timeout remaining. Dantzler watching the play clock tick down to 2 before taking the snap. Zachary stacked up at the 34 by Marco Hutchinson. Another South Carolina Gamecocks, but time certainly on the Tiger side now with just 2:15 left, and the clock continued to tick on down on the Gamecock season, which unless a miracle occurs now is most certainly going to be 0-11.
And I think we keep showing Brandon Streeter over there. I think that he just now said, "Where's my helmet?" You know, that might possibly happen where he gets to go in and take that ceremonial snap for the team with the time ticking off. And that would be a nice thing for him and his ball club. I think they would all like to see that happen.
Tigers keep it on the ground. Harney's in the backfield just about the time the football is handed off to Travis Zachary. Clemson just running the clock out, minute 30. And really not much that Lou Holtz and South Carolina can do right now with the team trailing by 10 points. And South Carolina unable to do anything about Clemson's ability to run down the clock. It's now 3rd down. You see the play clock. Hansler gives to Zachary. He fumbled the football. And South Carolina has recovered at the 11. Hutchinson fell on it. The ball squirted out of there like a peach pit. And the Gamecocks take the ball with less than 1 minute to play in the 4th quarter. Just a moment ago, Brandon Streeter helping teammates take the water cooler, and they dumped not Tommy Bowden but Brad Scott instead, the former head coach at South Carolina, now assistant head coach at Clemson. Tommy Bowden walks away dry as a bone.
And players showing their respect for Brad Scott, knowing that this is a very emotional game for him coming back here and being in this state and being called a traitor, even though he was not retained here at South Carolina. But people say, how can you go to Clemson? Well, that guy has to eat. He has to do his best for his family.
To feed your family. There's nobody there to catch that pass. Kerry Hood was in the area. And it'll be 2nd down for the South Carolina Gamecocks. And only 50 seconds left in their season, although Clemson is probably going to have another chance in the Peach Bowl.
It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I had a chance to go upstairs during the half, and the Peach Bowl scout was being accosted by a number of the media, talking about different things. And one thing I heard that came out of it was, nothing's etched in stone yet about anything. We have to see how everything plays out in the ACC before things really shake down.
Petty run down from behind at the 14. Eason showing his speed, quickness. Gamecocks have a timeout left, but they are going to burn it. Lou Holtz is going to use his final timeout with 30 seconds left. And South Carolina showing signs of improvement the last 2 weeks of the season, and that's what they'll take out of this game. It's going to be a long time until they get to play again next fall, but they do have some things to build on after this one.
They have a lot to build on, and I'll tell you what, you see Coach Holtz there, and Buddy Pugh, the running back coach, to the right of your screen and to the left of your screen, that's Skip Holtz, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the spring.
Let's throw it down on the field to Warren Pepper.
Just one thought here before this game ticks away here. Lou Holtz has said from the get-go he really appreciates and totally respects what this rivalry has meant. What he is most hopeful of is what it will mean, not just the people in this state, but nationally. He wants it to become a Florida State type national implication every year, not just to the folks that live within the Palmetto State.
It's a great point made by Warren Pepper. This state is so football crazy. And Tommy Bowden, I believe, did he just catch it? Here it comes. Hey, there's always more than one water bucket. So Brad Scott got the first one, and Tommy Bowden got the second to celebrate a big year, and I think they plan to carry him off. But Coach Holtz is right. In this state, this football mad state, there's no reason why there shouldn't be national implications every year with these two programs.
Well, here's a guy that we're going to see a lot of in the Southeastern Conference for the next 3 years, Andrew Pinnock. Another nice run across the 25 to the 26-yard line. And the second largest crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium history, by and large, is still here.
Yeah, they've got to respect the effort both teams gave and what this meant. I mean, South Carolina come in 0-10 and do what they've done all day. And that's a real tribute to Coach Holtz and his staff, and a tribute to the character of these young men who have stayed with it all year, because they could have folded up and given up a long time ago, and that has not happened. My hat's off to everyone at South Carolina, and congratulations to everyone at Clemson. Looks like you'll have a chance to go on to a bowl game.
And the thing that we heard repeatedly about South Carolina this week was that they had continued to play hard week after week despite the losing season, the winless season. And there's the Clemson head coach, or rather assistant coach, Brad Scott, up on the shoulder. They're going to carry him out of here.
He's the assistant head coach, and you talked about it earlier. Warren talked about it earlier. He's deflected all interviews leading up to this ball game, wanted the attention to be on the kids in the game and not on him and his situation. But he's feeling awfully good inside, although he is sad for the kids that he recruited at South Carolina.
Final play, ball game over. And Tommy Bowden's Clemson Tigers have won it. 31-21, the final score. This big intrastate rivalry comes to a close in Columbia. We'll be back.
Partner of the SEC. By BMW. Visit your local BMW center for a test drive. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. By Regions Bank. Let us lend you our strength. By Domino's Heat Wave. Fresh, hot, and delicious Domino's pizza. How you like it. By Dodge. See the friendly Dodge dealer near you. And by Nationwide. Insurance, financial services on your side.
The Clemson Tigers are celebrating on the Gamecocks home field. The final score, Clemson 31, South Carolina 21. We'll be back in a moment after a word from your local sponsors.